You want her to take pictures of your daughter's 21st birthday.
Correct.
She said that she wouldn't have my pictures in time.
Your 21st birthday didn't exactly creep up on you.
I can't assume that she's busy.
Do you think you want to talk to each other? Go outside and don't waste my time.
This is Judy Justice. Rashida Frazier is suing her former clients, Jada Millette and Antoinette Chambers, for property damage, photography services, copyright infringement, and defamation.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Judge, case 4023, Frazier versus Millette Chambers.
Thank you. Frazier, you're a photographer.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have your own studio?
I work out of my home.
Do you have a website?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I take a look at it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now I've read this website. I want you to take a look at this. What's your first name?
Jada.
Jada. Take a look at this. Let your mom take a look at this and make sure that this is the same website that you saw when you hired Miss Frazier to photograph your 21st birthday.
No, it's a new website.
Can I
It's
see
been
the
updated.
Can I see the website that you saw? Okay, and I'll take them both now. No, the one that you gave me is only partial. I'm not seeing that it's any different from that, and some of it's left out.
That's what was available to us.
Well,
on the
that's too
website.
bad. Did you change your website?
No, ma'am.
No. Return this to them. Okay, so you knew what the deal was. You wanted her to take pictures for your daughter's 21st birthday. She was getting makeup done. I think the whole charge was $250.
Yes, ma'am.
According to the website, the $250 package that you ordered, which is what you ordered, correct?
Correct.
Included her taking the pictures and included 10 retouched pictures from the whole package. It was a $50 deposit. The rest of the money was to be paid in cash at the date of the shoot. That you had to notify her in advance of any guests you were bringing because it's at her house. Space is small, no kids. Anything else that I left out?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so you made an appointment for when?
The appointment was scheduled for, well, originally we had 2 appointments, but because of editing, we needed to push the appointment up so she could have the photos available for her birthday on time. So,
You asked her to please move up the date.
well, she asked us.
What date did you call her?
So,
Not so, just give me a date.
June 23rd.
Was the date that you called her. When's your birthday?
July 7th.
And when was the first appointment that you made with her?
So the original appointment was for July 2nd.
And then there was a conversation about changing that to a sooner date. Tell me about that conversation.
In order for me to have my pictures on time, we had to
No.
schedule a new.
No. Unless you're a mind reader, you don't know that. You had your appointment for July 2nd. Then something had to happen. Either you or your mother had to call the plaintiff and say, you know what? I don't think that that's enough time for her to say to you, if you do it July 2nd, I can't have the pictures for you by your birthday. Somebody had to say that, start that conversation.
Yeah,
Who was it?
the plaintiff said that she wouldn't have my pictures in time. So to move the appointment up. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, she texted me and asked, my birthday is July 7th. She said, I looked at your turnaround time. Will they be done by the 7th? And I told her, no, they will not. The turnaround time is 7 to 10 business days. But what I can do for you, since you want to post a picture.
Just a second. So you called her?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. And said, I know I'm coming in on the 2nd. Is that enough time for me to get my pictures done for my birthday?
Because on the website, there's a rush fee.
Yes. On the website that you didn't want to pay.
No, I did. I agreed to pay the rush fee. She denied it.
Okay. Well, maybe she was busy.
Maybe,
But
July.
just a
Fine.
second.
And that's why I
Can't-
rescheduled.
Your 21st birthday didn't exactly creep up on you. It's been coming for 21 years. The date hasn't changed. So you called the last week in June, and you wanted your pictures for the first week in July finished. That's what you wanted. Okay, that means that somebody who may have other things to do, personal, professional, or whatever, has to sort of move to your cadence, to your delayed cadence. In any event, she rescheduled in order to get that for you. That's an uh-huh. That's a yes.
Yes.
And when did she reschedule that for you?
June 26th. Yeah.
So that was an accommodation.
Yes.
Now I want you to tell me what happened when you got there.
Okay, when I arrived,
She was upset because I brought my one person that it says on the website that you can do.
No. It doesn't say that.
Well,
it says you can.
We have.
It says you can do that if you notify her. That's what the website
she was notified.
Just a second. The website says you can bring one person with prior notification. Am I correct?
You're correct.
Okay. So I read it. Now, she was upset that you brought one person, but you were about to say she knew we were bringing the one person.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I want you to tell me how she knew. She didn't look into a crystal ball.
No. We were all included in a group chat where we discussed where we were meeting at, times, dates. Everything was discussed between my co-defendant, my mom, and the plaintiff.
So you assumed she knew that you were bringing your mother.
I was aware that she knew.
No, you can't be aware. You can't be aware what she knew, because that makes you sort of soothsayer, creeping into her mind. You assumed that since you were on a three-way chat discussing where to go and what time to go, you assumed that she knew that you were bringing your mother. You didn't know she knew you were bringing your mother unless you said to her, I am bringing my mother. Is that okay pursuant to your website, right? You didn't say that to her.
No.
You were all together. So you assumed that she knew that you
Your
were
Honor,
bringing
that still doesn't give anyone a right to be upset and yell at you.
Just a second. Okay. We're going for facts, madam. The facts are, as indicated, you're supposed to have permission. You assumed that that was all taken care of because you were all doing this thing together, and she knew it was your 21st birthday.
Right.
So, and then your mother was sort of coordinating this thing happening to... I substantively don't understand why she would have been annoyed that you brought your mother if your mother was behaving herself. She rushed to get you an appointment.
No.
What, are you kidding?
She might have been busy, but the services I was paying for.
Just a second.
I think
I can't assume that she's
I just
busy.
think that, Your Honor.
Do you think you want to talk to each other? Go outside and don't waste my time.
Rashida Frazier claims her former clients, Jada Millette and Antoinette Javers, vandalized her house and defamed her. Jada and Antoinette are countersuing for posting a nude image of Jada online.
All right. So now you come to the date of the shoot, and
Nobody was really acting out. It was still weird energy, I guess. Like, my mom advised me, like, not to, like, go forth with the photo shoot, but I needed my promotion done and my birthday picture, so I was trying to be, I guess, cordial.
so the pictures were being taken.
Yes.
Fine. At what time did it start?
It started at, was it 5?
It was a 5 p.m. session,
5.
ma'am.
And it ended at around 5:55. And it was supposed to be an hour, but I think she had a customer coming in or something. So.
What? So it was 55 minutes. Started at 5, ended
Yes.
at 5:55. Okay. Now, did you pay her?
Yes.
And you paid her how much?
$250.
Okay. In total.
Yes.
Great. And that's what she charges.
Yes.
Okay. So you didn't pay her a rush fee.
No.
Right. Even though she rushed.
She did not rush. She
Oh, just a second. Well, she rushed to get you an appointment.
No.
What, are you kidding?
Appointment.
No.
Your Honor.
She rushed to get you a sooner appointment. Because,
Your Honor, if I were to book for July the 2nd, I would have paid the rush fee in order for my pictures to arrive on July 7th. But being as though she agreed to push my date up to June 26th, there's no rush fee
There's
involved.
no reason for the rush.
I'm absolutely following you, madam. I'm not thick. I said to you, she accommodated you to make the
accommodated
shoot.
herself.
Listen. No.
She might have been busy, but the services
you
that I
are-
was paying for,
Just a second.
I think
I can't
that's
assume
just-
that she's
I
busy.
just think that, Your Honor.
Do you think you want to talk to each other? Go outside and don't waste my time.
No.
What I'm telling you is, if she hadn't moved the date up to accommodate you, which is what you asked for, and she kept the date originally selected, which was July 2nd, and if you wanted the pictures by the 7th, you would have had to have paid an additional $200.
which I was fine with
Just
doing.
a second. That's not an aha. That's a yes.
Yes, which I was fine with doing.
So instead of making you pay the additional $200 rush fee, she agreed to see you at 5 o'clock on the 26th. That's what it appears like on paper. Do you get that now?
I still don't.
Are you answering the phone?
No, I'm looking at the rest.
Right, you can't listen. I'll tell you like I tell my husband all the time. I'm not talking to you until you're looking at my eyes.
sorry, Your Honor.
Do you understand?
I do.
Now, I'm not saying it again. I want you to start to process that in your brain.
Can I speak, Your Honor? I think where the confusion is happening is that the before date was available. So Rashida wasn't put out in any way. All we had to do was go back on the website and book an earlier date. I just didn't know she had a 7 to 10 day turnaround. So it was me that booked this.
And on the
shoot.
policy, there's a rush fee. So even if there is a 7 to 10 day turnaround, I can pay a rush fee. And I
And
would
we didn't
be
need
able
the
to
rush
get
fee
my
because
photos
she
by the 7th.
explained if we did it on the 2nd, they would not be done in time.
Your Honor,
I would,
it's 4th of
okay.
July.
So it was just a little.
Retouched images take 7 to 10 business days from the day you choose your photos. That's what it says.
Yes, Your Honor, that's correct.
Okay.
So once she reiterated that through text, I said, okay, well, we'll push the date up so that we can get it within the 7 to 10 days. We don't have to pay a rush fee. Everything was good. I have the text right here. Thanks to booking.
So she accommodated you.
No, it was available.
No, you're answering her question.
Impossible. I can actually understand her frustration.
Yes.
Your Honor, I don't think I'm explaining the matter right. So here's what happened. The plaintiff was busy on the day I decided to book. I already paid the deposit for that day. There's a rush fee. I knew there was a rush fee. I knew I would be able to pay that rush
Just
fee.
a second. You can't talk fast to me.
I'm sorry.
When
I'm
you
just trying to
said,
get it all out.
I just want to get this right. The plaintiff was already busy when you booked your date? Is that what you first said? Is that
No.
what you said? Could
She
you read back
expressed-
what? Shh.
She said the plaintiff was busy on the day I decided to book.
That's what you said. The plaintiff was
But she didn't
busy.
express to me until after I
Just a
booked.
second. You said the plaintiff was busy on the day that I booked. Did you book with her in person or did you book with her online?
Online.
Okay. And as soon as you did, she said, I'm busy on that date. Yes. And she gave you the date of July 2nd.
She gave me the date of June 26th.
What date was July 2nd?
That was the original date that I was planning to schedule for.
Okay.
So
You could have had that date, but you wouldn't have had your pictures on time.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
But she didn't accommodate us.
Yeah.
I could have had my
Anyway.
photos on time by paying that rush fee, if that
But
makes
there
sense.
was
Honor,
a
she
sooner
didn't wanna
date
pay it.
available.
I did want to pay
May
the
I
rush
see
fee.
what she's giving me?
You're saying she accommodated
My
us.
birthday is July 7th. I was wondering if the pics can be ready by that date without having to pay a rush fee.
Without.
That's without having to pay a rush fee. Your shoot is July 2nd and your birthday is the 7th. Did you read the website? They will not be done.
Right.
That's what you wrote.
Right. That's what she wrote. Yeah.
No, that's what your daughter wrote. Your daughter wrote, can I come in? I don't want to pay a rush fee.
I did not
I'm coming
say
in
I
on the
don't want to pay a
2nd.
rush
Stop talking.
Okay.
It's not that I'm not understanding you, madam. I'm understanding you perfectly.
I just got confused. You said she
I don't want to get
accommodated us.
confused. Your confusion is not my mission. Let me tell you something. She's in the business of providing a service. That service requires happy customers who will continue to promote her business so that she can continue to make a living.
Absolutely.
That's what she does. There has to be, in my judgment, which is common sense, some real reason why there was acrimony that existed right from the very beginning. And I'm going to tell you something. It didn't emanate with her because I can see from our discourse, it didn't emanate with her.
Well, I have
Now,
proof of otherwise.
that's not a not speak. That's not an answer. I'm not in a dalliance with you. She says you didn't pay her the $250.
That's not correct, Your Honor.
You paid her the $250.
I paid her the
Show me.
I'll show you what she refunded, so that proves that I paid.
No, it doesn't prove that you
Okay,
paid.
well, then I'll show you what I paid.
It doesn't. Listen, your mother may listen to your blabber. I don't.
Rashida Frazier has accused her former clients, Jada Millette and Antoinette Shavers, of vandalizing her house. Jada claims Rashida ruined her reputation by posting a nude image of her online.
Listen, she took your pictures, and after she took your pictures, tell me what happened.
After my photos were taken, I left.
$250.
Yeah.
She didn't have my payment, Your Honor.
She what?
She did not have my payment. It says
Shh. Just a second. She says you didn't pay her the $250 the day you left.
That's not correct, Your Honor.
You paid her the $250.
I paid her the
Show me.
$250.
We paid her for.
I'm speaking to
I'll
one
show you
person.
what she refunded, so that proves that I paid.
No, it doesn't prove that you
Okay,
paid.
well, then I'll show you what I paid.
It doesn't. Listen, your mother may listen to your blabber. I don't. It doesn't prove that you paid her on the date of the shoot, which is what it says in here. She says you didn't pay her on the date of the shoot.
She had
You
to
said,
pay her
I
with
don't
cash.
want to hear you.
Your Honor, how would I prove that I
Hold
paid
on.
her with cash?
Okay.
Just a
let her-
second.
let her-
All I'm asking you is, did you pay her with cash?
Yes.
Did you pay her with cash on the day that you left the shoot?
Yes.
Show me.
How
was
would
a
I
cash
show you
payment.
that I paid her with cash?
Okay.
She paid me, Your Honor, but the mother, as I was shooting Jada, she was giving like sign language to her mother, and the mother said, "Oh, shoot," and she grabbed her keys and ran out of the house, and I said, "Where's your mother going?" "Oh, you want to be paid in cash, right? She's going to get your cash."
Just a second. Did she pay you in cash that day?
Yes, but I had to
Okay,
put
so
my
why
6
lie?
p.m. back. It says bring the money.
Just
All
a
she
second.
does is
Just a
lie,
second.
Your Honor.
Don't be petty. Then the answer is the mother paid you cash. She may not have brought it with her, but she paid you cash on the date of the shoot.
She did, ma'am, but
That's
she
all
took
I
so
wanna
long
know.
I had to push my next client back.
I don't care.
Okay.
Okay, so now the photo shoot is finished and you are paid. What happened next?
I left. She sent me the raw images for me to pick 10 photos that I
Just
would
a
want
second.
edited.
The same day.
It was June 28th, so it was 2 days after the photo
So
shoot.
2 days afterwards, she got you the raw pictures.
Yes.
Great. And what happened then?
I expressed to her that I seen.
Not expressed. You sent her a text, you called
Yeah,
her.
I sent her a text that
That said what?
I seen on her site. You could get an additional picture, but you have to pay $15 to edit each additional picture. She would only retouch 10 pictures for the
Just a second.
set.
Read to me what you said to her in your text.
I said to her, if you can please do these pictures, I believe it's 13, but I will pay you extra. You'll make my birthday.
Okay, so you wanted her, according to your text, to do 3 additional pictures.
Yes.
And did she answer you?
She said 12 is the max you can order. I asked her, is that by policy or is that by choice? And she proceeded to refund me.
Yeah, no, that's
Didn't
not
answer
true.
my.
Okay.
She's reading the end of the messages.
Because that would be harsh, right? So do you have the messages,
Yes,
all the
ma'am.
messages? May I take a look
Yes,
at them,
ma'am.
please? Because I would agree with you that that would be harsh
Yeah.
if that one message followed another. Can you redo 3? I could redo a maximum of 12, and then she refunded your money, and I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. She's going to tell me her version of what happened on these events, too. Can I see? Well, there's a lot of back and forth. On Saturday, June 29th, she wrote to you, "Good morning. Today is the deadline if you want them on July 7th. You answer her 3 hours later and said, you said Sunday at least, right? Because I need a few extra photos. And she says to you, 12 is the max you can order. And you say to her, 12 extra or 12 in total. So instead of 10, 22, well, something's wrong with your noodle, right? Because you originally said you wanted 3 extra, and now you're asking this dumb question, which is 12 extra or 12 in total. Where did that come
This
from?
question came way before.
No, 12 extra.
Yeah, the
No,
12
that's
additional
June
photos.
29th. She says 12 total, and then you say to her, I didn't read anything about 12 maximum, so how much do I get them all with the 10 edits that I already paid for?
So that's me, Your Honor. That said, I didn't read anything about 12 max.
Your daughter said she wanted 13. She said 12 max.
Right.
I mean,
Which it
she
wasn't on
said
the policy.
You're speaking.
Right. Oh, okay.
Where is this 12 max at on your page? What I missed? I don't know who said that. You or your daughter? I'm telling you, I'm not retouching more than 12 images. How am I going to get you 15 plus images by July 7th? I have other clients. Oh wow. So this is by choice, not policy. Daughter, get your 10 photos and be done. So you're in the process of talking back and forth to each other. I don't know what MMK means. What does MMK mean?
Okay.
Oh, bunch of morons. And then somebody says, these are my birthday pictures, WYM. What does that mean?
What you mean?
What you mean, refund?
So she didn't send you all of it, Your Honor.
I don't want no refund. I want to pay for more pictures. And this is a picture of you in a fishnet stockings.
I think it'll be better, Your Honor, from the phone.
Okay. Let me see her phone for a moment, please. See, this was not going well. In any event, this was a back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And finally, she said, I've had enough. Here's your $250 back. You got your $250 back. Is that correct? That's a yes or a no?
Yes.
Okay. And when you got your $250 back, what did you do with it?
I had to start off.
No. What did you do? Did you put it in the bank? Did you put it in your wallet? Did you put it in your pocketbook?
I told her I don't want a refund. I want
I
my
know I saw
pictures.
that. But you ultimately took the money. And
No, she refunded it to my mother. I'm the one
okay.
paying for the photo
Just
shoot.
a second. So she refunded the money to your mother.
Yes.
And on what date did she refund the money to your mother?
It was that same day, so,
June 29th.
yes, ma'am.
And on the 29th, everything stopped.
No. But yeah.
Everything stopped with regard to the photographs. You didn't edit anymore?
No, I was done.
Yeah, you were done. You say she falsely claims I vandalized her home. I have no idea what she's talking about. Now I'm going to see the video.
Are you having a family dispute? Go to judyjustice.tv.
You have a restraining order for 3 years.
Yes.
I've read some of these emails. It's all crazy. Your next step should be with some sort of a mental health expert. He doesn't want anything to do with you anymore.
Exactly.
This is Judy Justice. Rebecca Albrader is suing her ex-boyfriend, Thomas Kidd, for stolen property and damages from an assault.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Judge, case 4019, Albrader versus Kidd.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Alberta, this is not such a difficult situation. You have 2 causes of action against Mr. Kidd, who you were involved with in a romantic relationship for a short time. It is your claim that he has a piece of property that belongs to you, which is an old mattress that you didn't purchase, that you put in his apartment because you slept over there a lot. You maintained your own apartment or your own home. According to your complaint, when you were involved in the relationship, he gave you a key to the apartment, so you had access to it, but you spent a lot of nights there. Weren't happy with his mattress, so you gave him an old one. And you gave him this mattress when?
I believe it would have been 2 days before June 6th, so it would have been June 4th.
Of this year?
Yes.
Okay. And was there a conversation about the mattress when you brought it over to the apartment? Was there a mattress already there?
Yes, my daughter.
Just a second. Was there a mattress already at his apartment?
No.
There wasn't.
No.
So what were you sleeping on?
Well, Your Honor.
Oh, no, look at me.
Yes.
You were sleeping over at his place. You had a key. My question is, what were you sleeping on when you slept there before June 4th?
Nothing. My daughter's twin mattress that she had lent him as well, because he did not have a bed when he moved in.
Okay. So when he moved in, and what year was that?
That was this year.
2024. Your daughter gave him a mattress, and it was a twin mattress.
Yes.
That she wasn't using anymore.
No, she had never really used it.
Well,
it was just a storage. Sorry.
In any event, that was a twin mattress. This was a larger mattress, is that right? That could accommodate you?
Yes.
Okay. And it was an old mattress. You paid nothing for it. That's a question.
Yes.
You paid nothing for it.
No.
Just brought it over there. Yeah, forget about the mattress. We're done with the mattress. I don't deal with old, stained, disgusting mattresses. Get real. Okay. Now you had an incident with him where you alleged that you were assaulted. And on what date was that?
It was on June 6th.
And how long before June 6th had you had a key to the apartment?
Since February.
Okay.
Your Honor, it was actually... Sorry.
Now, on June 6th, I want you to tell me about the assault, and I'll take a look at any medical records that you have or photographs.
All right.
Go.
On June 6th, I woke up and decided to clean Tommy's apartment.
You woke up, just a second. You woke up in your house?
I woke up in his house.
Okay, so you had slept over the night before?
Yes.
So you slept there on the 5th. Had you slept there on the 4th as well?
Yes.
With a new mattress?
Yes.
And you decided to clean the apartment. He was where, at work?
Yes.
Do you work?
I did work.
Did you work on the June 6th?
Yes.
You decided, what?
7 p.m.
So you decided to clean his apartment?
Yes.
And what did you do?
I cleaned his apartment. While I was cleaning, I noticed that there was a camera.
Don't read anything.
I noticed that there was a camera propped up on the next to the bed, and
That you had never noticed before?
No, it was there just...
What kind of camera?
Just a small camera that was placed right beside the bed.
I mean, on the floor, on a nightstand?
On a nightstand.
And he wasn't home at the time?
No.
Okay, so what happened next?
I covered it with a cup because I didn't know if it was recording without my consent.
Why don't you just unplug it? Look at me. You covered it with a cup?
Yes, because I didn't want to touch his property.
You were cleaning his house.
I was cleaning his house.
That's touching his property. Taking a cup and putting it over a camera is touching his property. Not only the cup, but the camera. Okay? I'm just not following you, so it's not making sense to me. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
I would clean up the household items. I didn't know if I was allowed to touch that. The cup was mine. I placed it right there just so that it would
How
block
was the
the
cup
camera.
yours? Where did you bring it from?
From my house.
So you brought, in addition to the mattress, you bought dishes?
Yes. Towels.
This is getting better. This is getting better all the time. All right, so you covered the camera with a cup. And then, come on.
Continued cleaning.
And you cleaned. And then?
And then he had texted me, and I had texted him, let him know that I was cleaning his apartment.
Can I see the texts?
I don't have that, Your Honor.
Why?
My phone was put into evidence, and he had lent me that phone, and this one that I have is my old one.
Where?
With the police.
Okay. And did that have to do with the restraining order that he filed against you? You write, and this is all crazy. You understand, but your writing to him is all crazy. You do understand that?
Yes.
It's all crazy. And he's just saying to you, go home. Out of my apartment, go home.
Rebecca Elbringer claims her ex-boyfriend, Thomas Kidd, stole her high-priced mattress. Thomas is countersuing for defamation of character.
My phone was put into evidence.
Where?
With the police.
Okay. And did that have to do with the restraining order that he filed against you?
Yes.
Okay. When did he file a restraining order against you?
You would have to ask him.
It was after June 6th.
Yes.
Because he has a counterclaim. I'm going to get back to June 6th. I have to do this in a different kind of an orderly fashion. I can see that. Okay. So you texted each other back and forth. And at some point he came home from work.
Yes.
And you were there.
Yeah.
Approximately what time?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I was not there. He had asked me to leave because he was upset.
Okay. Because you touched his camera.
No, because he didn't like the excessive text messages that were going on.
Oh, do you have the text messages?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see
I can
them.
bring those up.
I'd like to see them.
They're just a mix of, in there you'll have to just scroll through those. There's,
This is on June 6th.
yes, this is the 6th.
Are you the green?
He's green.
He's green. He says, go home. And you say, I love you, Tommy. Is that you?
Yes, ma'am.
So you say, I love you, Tommy. It's not safe for me at my house. I've got psychopaths and sex offenders next door that are becoming less and less intimidated by me. I need my crew to pull up, my one and only.
Which is Tommy.
Shh. And he keeps telling you. You're writing to him. And he says to you, just go home, Rebecca. Right?
Yes.
Just go home. You write, and this is all crazy. You understand, but your writing to him is all crazy. You do understand that?
Yes.
It's all crazy. And he's just saying to you, go home. Out of my apartment, go home. Are you home? Okay, I got it. Okay, now, did you go home?
Yes.
Okay. Did you come back?
Yes.
Okay. Went home at what time?
I'd say about 2
Okay. And when did you come back?
after he got off work.
What time did you?
4:30.
4:30. And you had to be at work at?
7.
7. Did you go to work at 7?
Yes.
Okay. And when you went to work at 7, was that before or after you went to a doctor?
Before.
When did you go to a doctor?
On July 19th.
On July 19th.
Yes.
This happened June 6th. Okay. So I'm not interested in your July 19th. When did he file a restraining order against you?
I'd say about June 30th.
Okay. So on June 30th, he filed a restraining because you were harassing him. And you clearly were harassing him because you had a trial on the restraining order, did you not?
Yes.
And after the trial on the restraining order, and you did in fact testify, and what I gather from you, am I correct? At that trial, they took your phone in evidence.
Yes.
And the judge, after the trial, granted him a restraining order for 3 years.
Yes.
It was not a mutual restraining order. It was granting his restraining order against you to leave him alone.
Yes.
Good. So what do you want? You had an opportunity when you had that trial to bring up any alleged assault that he committed on you months before. You had an opportunity to do that. Either one of two things happened. Either you didn't, or you did raise it and the judge dismissed it. Which one was it? Did you raise it?
Yes.
So the judge heard your facts.
Yes.
And the judge did not grant you a restraining order.
No.
Yeah, me neither. Okay. Do you sleep on this mattress?
Yes, ma'am.
Why? Here's my question. Listen to me, Mr. Kidd.
Yes.
What do you do for a living?
I'm in construction. I'm a carpenter.
You make a living?
Yes.
I would get a new mattress. What you want to do is when you're dealing with somebody who clearly from this and I don't know what else, you want to have no reason for her to have any connection to you. Do you understand?
Yes.
You've been through a legal process with her. She's supposed to have no contact with you. Get a new mattress. When are you going to do that?
Tomorrow.
Perfect. He's putting the mattress out. You have an apartment, a house, whatever?
It's apartment. Yes.
Apartment. Is there a place where you can put the mattress out on the street to be picked up?
Yes.
Fine. Today is Friday. I assume you will have a mattress by Monday.
Yes.
Great. On Sunday, he is putting out the mattress in the street. If you want it, get a mover and come and get it. If you don't want it, leave it. What?
It is not just a mattress. It is a Serta Perfect Sleeper. It is a $5,000 bed.
I don't care.
Okay.
He's putting it out. He's putting it out. If you want it, go get it.
Thank you.
Right?
Yes.
But you have to go with a police officer. Escort. If you can't get a police officer escort, you can't go. The mattress is gone. Do you understand?
Yes.
If you can get a police escort with you and you want the mattress, get it. Right?
Yes.
Sunday. Now you have an order to leave him alone. So that's your case. You have a restraining order for 3 years. It was issued when?
That was issued, the temporary restraining order was issued on the 26th.
No, final order of protection.
The final order was issued July 17th.
And what I want to know from you is, because you have a counterclaim, after July 17th, did the plaintiff have any communication with either you or with anybody that you know that you can prove?
Yes, my employer
May I see what communication she had with your employer?
and my probation
After?
officer, yes.
After July 17th, show me. I've read some of these emails. Your next step should be with some sort of a mental health expert. That's your next step. Help yourself. You're like appears to be an intelligent young woman. That's your next step. He doesn't want anything to do with you any more.
Rebecca Albrader is accusing her ex-boyfriend, Thomas Kidd, of stealing her high-priced mattress. Thomas claims Rebecca tried to ruin his reputation at work.
May I see what communication she had with your employer?
And my probation
After?
officer, yes.
After July 17th, show me.
That's with my probation. This
It's
one.
not after July 17th.
No, this was the,
After July
Yeah.
17th. I don't want to hear anything right now. I'm thinking my own thoughts. Just show me communication that she had after July 17th. You understand that that's not permitted?
yes.
Fine. This is Wednesday, July 17th in the morning. And this must have been before then the order of protection was granted. Did you have your hearing on July 17th?
Yes.
Okay, so this message was sent before you were given a protective order. This was at 9:59 in the morning.
Yes.
Okay, let's see, what do we have here? This is June 26th. So this is, whatever it is, it's June 26th. June 26th, June 25th.
There was a temporary order on the 26th.
I understand that. Temporary order was an ex parte order, which means you went by yourself. She wasn't there.
Yes.
Right. Okay, I got it. And when you had your hearing, sir, you gave these to the judge. That would, from the 26th.
From the 26th, no.
You didn't give these to the judge when you had the hearing on July 17th? You had to have. They formed part of your complaint for harassment. These were emails that she sent to your probation officer on June 26th.
I did not receive those from my probation officer.
Well, how'd you get them now?
It was after I received my protective order.
I know you received your protective order afterwards, but you had to have evidence to get your protective order. I'm asking you, did you in fact introduce these emails that she sent in June when you had your trial?
No, I did not.
Have you seen your probation officer since?
Yes.
Okay, your probation officer knows that she has a problem?
Yes, my probation officer also has a protective order against her.
Okay.
Anna,
What?
a stalking injunction was issued.
What?
A stalking injunction was issued and it was unserved.
I've read some of these emails. Your next step should be with some sort of a mental health expert. That's your next step. Help yourself. You appear to be an intelligent young woman. That's your next step. He doesn't want anything to do with you any more.
Your Honor,
What?
I have 4 psychiatrists now, 3 psychologists, including one from my former employer.
Okay, great. Good. I hope that helps you. Your case is dismissed. Sir, the court handled your problem by granting you a protective order on the 17th. Should she violate that order by contacting you, or I'm sure the judge will expand that order of protection if you request it, or to your parole officer or anyone else, and I'm sure that you can get it modified if it doesn't already exist that way. I cannot order it.
Yeah.
But the judge can order it, right? And unless she gets this fixation out of her mind, I don't know what's happened since June 17th, but the mattress is going to make any connection go away.
Yes.
You see, somebody with this kind of thing doesn't want to think of you sleeping on a mattress that she provided to you with anybody else.
Exactly.
I can actually understand that. It's the way a woman feels. You know, man may not feel that way. It's a mattress, it's a mattress. Who cares who's on it? But a woman, especially someone who might be slightly unbalanced, can't live with that. So it would have been smarter for you to give her the mattress back as soon as she asked you for it. What do you want?
The imbalance started after June 6th, after I was assaulted at his place.
I don't believe that. Neither did the other judge. Your case is dismissed. We're done. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I'm very happy about it, and I feel like that was the right choice. She is a very wise judge.
I think it was pretty fair. I maybe thought maybe there was going to be a different judgment on my side, but it is what it is.
Beauty fades, dumb is forever, so I accept it.
I think it was just to try to just get back something she didn't want me to have.
Well, time to move on.
Well, I mean, she was trespassed off the property, so, I mean, the officers, the law enforcement didn't find any reason to charge me with anything as far as assault. It was nothing like that at all.
And I really hope that he stays away from me and my family.
You know, there's a pretty large part of me that feels like the plaintiff only brought this suit to see him again. I mean, I understood your point and her main claim about the mattress, and I could understand being a little bit ticked off that your ex-boyfriend is sleeping on this mattress that you brought. But at the end of the day, I think your ruling was right. She paid nothing for it. She did nothing for it. It's not like she had a new receipt for it. We don't deal in old mattresses.
Yeah.
But I do have a legal question about the dates that you were asking him about, the communications between her and the parole officer. I understand that the temporary order of protection is an ex parte, meaning that only he showed up and filed for it and she was not present. However, why be so stringent with the dates on the communication? Because that order is just as valid as the final order of protection. She can't violate, even though it was an ex parte temporary, she still can't violate it. So I just didn't know why you were only concerned with the dates after the permanent.
I'll tell you why. Because it's a question of notice.
Okay.
She wasn't on notice that any order existed that was signed by a court that she had to stay away from him, stop harassing him. Giving her the benefit of the doubt that she had no notice. She certainly did have notice by the 17th that there was a final order. She was told by a judge, don't have anything to do with him. She had a full hearing. The court even took her phone. So she clearly has another phone, which is why his phone was important. So when you have a temporary order of protection, the defendant or the respondent in the temporary order of protection has to be on notice that it exists before they can be found to have violated it.
Okay, but as long as that proof exists, I just want to make it clear to everyone out there that you still have to follow the order of a temporary order of protection once you're served with it.
Once you're served.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
Are you a victim of an assault? Go to judyjustice.tv.
They claim she assaulted you.
She hit me first, Your Honor. She kicked me, and I almost got hit by a car, Your Honor. She approached me to my vehicle. She was calling me names, and she wanted to fight me.
And then you got out of the car.
I didn't do anything wrong. When I walked up to her, I defended myself.
This is Judy Justice. Karen Casas is suing car buyer Destiny Jones for impound fees, parking tickets, and an assault.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Judge, case 4018, Casas versus Jones.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Casas, you sold the defendant an old car.
Yes.
And you claimed that as a result of her not following through with your agreement, which was to register the car immediately, she accumulated tickets, the car became impounded, you had to go and get the car out of impound, you had to do that twice. Ultimately, you repossessed it, she took it back. All of this resulted in expenses for you that far and exceed the value of the car.
Yes.
The defendant, Ms. Jones, says she purchased the car from you. She paid you $1,600 for the car. It was a 2007.
Hyundai Tucson.
Now, when you sold her the car, on what date?
I sold you the car on February 1st, 2024.
What date?
The 25th of February. No, it's not true. I have evidence. I have it right here. Excuse me, Your Honor. I have it.
Shh. Show me what you have to demonstrate that the car was sold on February 1st, and you can show me what you have that established the car was sold on February 25th. What's this $200 finder's fee?
My cousin charged us both $100 each for connecting us together and her selling the car to me. So I paid her that the day of purchasing the vehicle.
Well, I don't know whether you did or whether you didn't.
And then the transaction fee, sorry, on the other page.
Well, I have your release of liability, but that's in May.
But it says on the date over there, on the date that I sold her the car.
Well, you put the date.
Yes.
You put the date in.
Yeah, why would I do that if I was lying, though, you know?
I remember because you didn't remember, but you put the date in. This doesn't have anything that suggests that it was the beginning of February as opposed to February 25th. You got a release of liability of the car on May 1st.
Yes, well, may I, Your Honor?
No, not yet. Had the car been registered at the time that you sold it?
Yes, it was registered to me, Your Honor. I have the registration if you'd like to see it.
I just want to know, when you sell a car, you live in California?
Yes.
When you sell a car in California, you have to have, along with title, you have to get a smog test that's valid within the last 90 days. Did you have that?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it.
Yes.
This car was smogged 11/24/2023. Why couldn't you register the car?
When I went to register the car, the car would needed to be smogged. I have my title saying that it's a temporary registration. She didn't provide me the smog certificate when I purchased the car off of her. She never asked me for it, Your Honor, but I would have gave it to her if she would have asked me.
Well, that's a problem.
I understand, Your Honor.
Because you have to provide this.
This is my first time with selling a car, having experience, so, but I held on to it, and I do know that now, Your Honor, so I do understand where I was wrong.
So she couldn't register the car without a smog test unless you had it retested. But when you purchased the car from her, sometime in mid-February, when you purchased the car from her, she did in fact give you the title.
She gave me the title 2 days after, because we were supposed to meet at the DMV, which she never did because...
Just a second. She gave you the title.
Yes.
On what date?
She gave me the title on the 27th.
Okay. So now you have the title. Mm-hmm. And now it's up to you to get the car smogged. Do you work?
At the moment, no.
No, not at the moment.
No.
Then,
no.
What did you need a car for?
To see my daughter. She lives in Whittier and I live in South Central.
Between February 27th and May 1st, did you see your daughter?
Mm-hmm.
Is not an answer.
Yes, I did.
And you drove there?
Yes, I did.
And you drove there in her car? That would be a yes.
I drove there in my car.
Well, you drove there in a car that you had purchased from her but didn't complete your contract with her. You drove a car where she had given you the title to the car so that you had the ability to register it You just had to do a little more work. So it's not that you didn't have use of a car. You had use of a car, but she had all the liability because it was still in her name. You're smart enough to understand that, right? You're smart enough to understand that if the car is still in her name, then she will be responsible for parking tickets or moving tickets that you get for the car, because her name is still the registered owner of that car, right?
Yes.
Great.
I approached her, and she was already coming out all crazy at me, and she pushed me in the street, and I almost got hit by a car, Your Honor.
I didn't do anything wrong. If she would have provided me the smog certificate, then none of this would even be happening.
Karen Casas claims car buyer Destiny Jones purchased her car and never transferred the title, causing Karen to receive parking tickets in her name.
Now I'd like you to show me tickets that accumulated on the car between, let's say, the third week in February and May 1st, when you finally removed yourself from libel for the car.
Your Honor?
I don't need to speak to you yet. Okay, so here's one parking ticket that's on the 26th of February. So 26th, according to you, you had the car.
Mm-hmm.
So this is your ticket.
Okay, that's fine, yes.
Did you pay it? You got it. Listen to me.
I didn't
No. That's baloney. You got it because it wasn't a moving ticket. You parked on the street where there was no parking, street cleaning. So when you got back to the car, there was a ticket which you took and discarded. Okay, and here you were double parking in March. Who is at street?
I live on...
Well, then what were you double parking for?
I live in South Central, and the apartment complex I moved into doesn't have a parking lot for their tenants, and the parking is really, really bad there. I have pictures of the streets, like, in the middle of the day.
What does that have to do with her? You get a parking ticket because you double parked your car, then you pay it.
Your Honor, if she would have provided me the smog certificate when she sold me the vehicle, then nothing would have been in her name.
Listen to me. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. What did that have to do with you double parking the car? You were driving it. Duh. You were driving the car. You were violating the rules by not parking it in the right place. What does that have to do with smog? Explain it to me. Maybe I'm stupid. What does the fact that you didn't get a smog receipt have to do with you violating the law, getting tickets, and not paying them in a car that you were using? Can you explain that to me? No, you can't. Okay, good. Not as dumb as I thought. Okay, so you were getting these, there were 2 parking tickets, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And you sort of got fed up with the 2 parking tickets and you tried to contact her. That didn't work out.
So I reported the car stolen because
I understand. That's where I'm getting to.
Okay.
Well, the car was not stolen. So you know that that's not the right thing to do. It wasn't stolen. She had paid you for the car. You were turned over the title to the car. The car wasn't stolen, madam.
May I, Your Honor?
Sure.
Okay, so upon selling her the car, when she gave me the money, I told her we had a verbal agreement. And I said, if you don't take me to the DMV tomorrow, because I did not want to be liable for anything, I could give you the money back. This goes, all bets are out the door. Okay, we had a verbal agreement. She knew that, and she never came.
What does that have to do with you reporting to the police?
She wasn't answering her phone, Your Honor. I had started getting tickets in the mail already, and so when I was trying to contact her, she wasn't answering my phone calls. So I figured if I got her attention by reporting the car stolen, that she would see. Maybe I should transfer the title.
I just want to tell you something. It's expedient, but when you falsely report an incident, which is what you did, you falsely reported a crime.
Yes, Your Honor.
Not a breach of some civil contract.
That's how
you falsely reported a crime. That is a crime.
I understand, Your Honor.
Okay. I just want you to understand that people can't do that and sort of resort to, because it's expedient, well, I'll report it stolen, and that way the police will get involved, and that way it'll get her attention. That's not what the police are there for. The police are there to take care of crimes. This is not one. Just letting you know.
Okay.
Okay. Now, then the car was impounded.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why was the car impounded?
Because she reported it stolen.
And is that when you had to retrieve the car?
Yes, so
Just a second. Then you had to retrieve the car.
Yes,
because you reported it stolen, and they picked it up. And how much was that?
It was $900 the first time.
Okay. So that you don't get back, because you don't get rewarded for committing a crime.
I understand, Your Honor.
Okay?
Okay.
Now, the car was impounded a second time because you took the car back. Did you get the car back?
Yeah, the date.
Shh! Did you get the car back?
Yes,
On what date?
on April 2nd.
How did you get the car back?
Karen told me where it was at. It was at her father's house. That's not true.
You got the car back on April 2nd. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. It's not an answer. Yes is an answer. Was the car impounded again?
Yes.
On what date?
May 20th.
For what?
For allegedly blocking a driveway.
Blocking a driveway where?
On the street I live on.
Okay. Where's the car now?
I have it. It's outside.
Is it now registered in your name?
The car, I registered the car.
That's either yes or no.
Yes.
On what date?
April 2nd. I have the evidence.
May I see the registration for the car, please? Okay. So as of the beginning of April, the car is registered in her name. Now, the car was towed a second time on what date?
They retrieved it on 5/20/2024, and it was also in the impound for 19 days.
Well, 5/20. What did you take it out of impound for?
19 days later, well, because they sent me a letter because I was still the registered owner at that time.
No, not on May 20th.
But that's what the tow yard people here, this is from the tow yard.
They're mistaken. According to this, she registered the car in April.
Well, Your Honor, the tow yard had informed me, and they sent me a letter saying that I was still the legal registered owner and that she was just an interested party.
What I'm telling you is...
I believe you, Your Honor.
Your problem is, if the tow company was wrong, which clearly, based upon this, which was stamped April 2nd, and if they towed the car because she was double parked on May 20th, then the tow company got it wrong.
Yeah.
Then you can't sue her, you sue the tow company.
But she still wasn't able to get it out. It was in there for 19 days.
Who cares?
19 days.
It had nothing to do with you anymore.
At that time, I wasn't aware of that. I didn't know that, you know?
You were aware of it. You were aware of it because in the beginning of May, you signed a release of liability of motor vehicles.
Yes, I did.
So you were aware of the fact that a month before, because it was released to you in June, you were aware of the fact that you would sign this release of liability because you were concerned about her. Okay. I would take this up with the tow company. If I were you, I'd be more than delighted to hear it.
Okay.
If everything is, as you indicate, that the tow company got it wrong. All they had to do was upgrade their information about this car, and they would have found out that the defendant was the registered owner. And if she wanted to get it out, she'd have to stop blocking other people's driveways. Okay.
I didn't exchange any names with her.
So what did you do?
I
You
approached
her
her,
and
then she hit me with the dog leash.
she did?
Yes. No,
Well, what were you, just a second, what were you going to do when you approached her? Stop and think.
Karen Casas is accusing car buyer Destiny Jones of purchasing her car and never transferring the title. Karen also claims Destiny assaulted her, but Destiny says it was self-defense.
So, who paid these parking tickets?
My friend Bob, he lent me the money, and he was holding on to the car for me until I was able to pay him back, which I did pay him
I just wanted you to show me receipts that the parking tickets were paid.
My friend Bob's not around right now. He's
Well, and I actually can't help you. They wouldn't have allowed her to register the car if there were outstanding parking tickets on it. So I don't know who paid for the parking tickets, but you have no proof that you paid for the parking tickets. Okay. Now, after the car was impounded for the second time, you claim she assaulted you.
Yes.
Tell me when and where that happened.
Okay. It was 2 days after the car had gotten out, and she
Gotten out of when?
the tow yard the second time.
The second time, so that was in June.
Yes, June. Yes, June 7th.
Now, the car was in impound for 19 days. Why?
I was waiting for my program to assist me with pulling it out of the impound. I live in with the homeless program. They helped me pay my rent and stuff, so they were going to assist me with getting the car out of the impound.
But you didn't.
No, I didn't. Her and her friend pulled it out of the impound, and I also have a police report. I filed a police report when I needed to retrieve the vehicle back from him.
Okay. So you found out where the car was, and you got it back from her friend.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Is not an
Yes,
answer.
sorry,
Yes,
sorry.
is an answer.
Yes.
Okay. And after that, you had a confrontation with her. Tell me about that.
I was in my vehicle that I bought from her. She approached me to my vehicle, walking towards me, and she was calling me names.
That's not true.
And she wanted to fight me. So I walked up to her. When I walked up to her, she hit me with her dog leash, and then I defended myself.
Well, let me ask you this question. We're going to go back slowly. According to you, you were sitting in your car, in the driver's seat.
I was in the passenger seat.
In the passenger seat. Who was driving?
My friend, who doesn't have a
Friend.
license.
Shh. So your friend's driving.
Yes.
And you were in the passenger seat. And she approached you while you were sitting in the passenger seat.
I got out of the vehicle and
Oh, that's a different story.
believe
So she's calling, just a second. So she's calling you names. And instead of staying in the car, you got out of the car. And then what happened when you got out of the car?
when I walked up to her,
So you walked up to her.
she was already walking to me.
Show me somewhere in the room where she was when you got out of the car.
For instance, I was in the vehicle over here, and she was over here at this black wall. And she
So
was
from
walking
there,
towards
just
me.
a second. So from there, she's walking and shouting at you. So she didn't come up to the car window and start screaming at you.
No.
She was far away when she allegedly started to call you names.
Yes.
And then you got out of the car.
Yes.
And you were exchanging bad names back and forth.
I didn't exchange any names with her. She
So what did
exchanged
you?
names with me.
So what did you do?
I
You
approached
approached
her,
her and
then she hit me with the dog leash.
she did.
Yes. No, I
Well, what
didn't.
were you? Just a second. What were you going to do when you approached her? Stop and think. You approached her, and she was clearly close enough so that, according to you, she could hit you with the dog's leash, and according to you, you weren't saying anything to her. What did you approach her for?
Well, I wanted to know why she was even doing all of this stuff, why she even did all of this to begin with. I didn't do anything wrong. She failed to provide me the smog certificate when I purchased the vehicle. If she would have provided me the smog certificate, then none of this would even be happening.
That's what I have to deal with, Your Honor.
All right. Tell me your version of what happened after the car was released the second time.
So, by the shelter that I live out in Whittier, it was off of Greenleaf at a 7-Eleven right there on the corner. There is video surveillance of it, and so I approached her, and she was already coming out all crazy at me, and she hit me first, Your Honor, and I told her, let me put my dog down, let me tie my dog up, because I was ready to fight back and defend myself, okay? And that's the truth, okay? She wouldn't let me tie my dog up, so she continued to assault me and start hitting me. So I was just trying to, protect myself, and I did hit her with a dog leash, because that's all I had. My dog ended up getting stepped on. And so when I went to go grab my dog, because my attention then went to my dog. So I picked him up, and she pushed me in the street. Like, she kicked me, and I almost got hit by a car, Your Honor. Okay. There is video surveillance of it. And the 7-Eleven.
See it.
Well, the 7-Eleven, they told me I had to get a subpoena.
Don't tell me what they told you. If I don't have it, it doesn't exist. You have a police report.
I couldn't retrieve it in time, Your Honor.
So you don't have a police report?
I don't, Your Honor.
Do you have any medical proof that you saw any facility, urgent care, emergency room? The answer is yes or no.
No, Your Honor.
Do you have any photographs of your injuries?
No, Your Honor.
All righty. So we have A, no proof that you paid the parking tickets. We have B, a first impound of the car that happened as a result of you committing a crime and reporting a stolen vehicle, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
We have a second impound of the car because the towing company failed to adequately research who owned the car. So she's not responsible for that. That's the towing company. And you have no proof of the assault, of any injuries as a result of this confrontation between the two of you. No police reports, no video surveillance that you say exists, and no medical reports because you didn't seek medical attention. Am I correct?
Yes, Your
On
Honor.
all of those things. Perfect. Case is dismissed. We're done. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
Well, it was about the car when it got impounded the second time. I had to pay almost $1,400 to get it out, and that was like almost as much as I sold her the car for, which was $1,600. So
I don't even know what the big situation about all of this is really to begin with, because I bought the car from her, and I don't know what her problem is with me. I don't know why she even approached me the way she approached me.
she would have transferred the title like she was supposed to the first day after I sold her the car, then none of this would be happening.
She sold me the vehicle, and she didn't provide me the smog certificate, and it worked out how I expected it to.
I actually would look forward to trying the second part of that case against the towing company because the most legitimate argument she had is against the towing company on the second tow, which really failed to do a proper investigation of who owned the car.
I agree that she should sue the towing company for getting it wrong, but I don't know if I would have done anything different in her shoes, just because when you receive something like that in the mail, it's kind of startling.
It doesn't belong, the car doesn't belong to me. I signed a release of liability. It's not mine. I think she's got a good case against the towing company.
I agree.
Have you been cheated? Go to judyjustice.tv.
this relationship wasn't working out anymore, so you left.
Yeah.
You stayed in the apartment.
Yes.
Did you pay rent there?
Up until she left.
What?
He didn't have no job.
Don't speak.
Really?
Don't speak.
This is Judy Justice. Tanisha Brown is suing her ex-boyfriend, Wesley Smoots, for breaching their lease agreement.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Judge, case 4014, Brown versus Smoot.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Miss Brown, you and the defendant have a child together. You've never been married. You moved into an apartment together. It didn't work out. You left. He left. You got stuck with, according to you, the balance of the lease. They're coming after you for the balance of the lease and for damage to the apartment you want him to pay. Mr. Smoot says you actually left the apartment first. He could not maintain it himself, and he left after 3 months. Together in this mix, there is a child support order that I'm going to consider that Mr. Smoot says he's obligated to pay. Do they take that out of your salary?
Yeah, automatically.
And in addition, he says not only while you were living together, were you getting that money every month? I assume it was a monthly order coming out of your salary that more than covered his half of the expenses. And that really actually should have stopped unless the child was receiving public assistance. Was the child receiving assistance?
Like Medicaid? Yes.
Okay. So the only thing she
And
receives
he
is...
wasn't paying the child support.
Your child is how old?
6 years old.
And when did you move in together?
April 2023.
And did you both sign a lease?
Yeah, we both signed the lease.
And what was the rent?
The rent was $775 a month.
Was it a 1-year lease?
It was just a 1-year lease, yes.
When did you move out?
I moved out October 2023.
Up until October of 2023, was the rent current?
Yes.
Okay. You stayed in the apartment.
Yes.
Now, when you left in October, you still had November, December, January, February, and March left on the lease. 5 months. Did you pay any rent during that period of time?
I paid rent for my new apartment that I just moved in.
To this apartment?
No.
Okay. Now, how long did you stay in the apartment, Mr. Smoot?
To the victim, I'm not sure exactly when.
Okay. So she left in October, but you were living there.
Yes.
And when you were living there, did you pay rent there?
Up until she left.
No.
I couldn't afford all of it. So
the answer is?
No.
The answer is you did not pay any rent. You lived there.
And then the other thing, like,
Don't speak. You lived there November, December. When did you finally leave the apartment?
About 3 months later in January.
And January, so that's 3 months. And you lived there for 3 months and paid no rent.
Correct.
Okay.
he didn't move out to March 3rd.
So it could have been March. I don't know.
Yeah, he didn't move out to March 3rd.
I'm paying no attention to you. Okay, so, Mr. Smoot, 2325 is 3 months rent, okay? What was the child support order that you say you were paying that comes out of your check?
It was $470 a month, and they take it out of my check automatically.
Can I see?
That's I think the agreement.
This is dated August 12th, 2024. When did they start taking money? Oh, just a second.
Back in 2020.
Tell me, just a second. Ms. Brown, between the time you moved in April of 2023 and the time you moved out, October 1st, 2023, did you receive child support from him at all?
Yeah.
And you were living in
And I was using to pay our bills. I mean, like, he lived with me before he didn't have a job. So I used it to pay our bills. He didn't have a job from April to July. He didn't have no job.
Well, where were they taking the money from if he didn't have a job?
They took it because he owed back child support. He owes over $7,000.
Where did they take it from?
He filed his taxes and they gave me what from his taxes. It was $900.
Is what you're telling me the entire time you lived together, all you got from him was $900?
I think he might have started. I have it in my phone. Over the last year, I've gotten $2,000 from him, something like that.
I got multiple bank accounts, so I use different ways of paying her. But anytime I've gotten paid, I've always paid her like the majority of it. So
I don't want to hear the majority of it. So
She
that's
says
why they put.
I got a $500
Just a second.
payment right here. So that's
Sir,
seriously over 100.
Listen to me carefully. The two of you are on the hook to the landlord. You live there at least 3 months. You got to pay rent for those 3 months. You didn't pay rent for those 3 months. She wasn't there. I have to do something that's fair, so you can't live in a place scot-free.
I know she was double dipping the entire time. I'm paying rent. I'm paying the $775, and I'm paying the $470.
I want you to show me
I
where.
only make $500 on my check.
Show me where you were paying the $775 a month rent. That I want to see. If you can show that to me, with case over.
That's the only way it was there. That's the only way it was concurrent. Like, she wasn't paying it. She doesn't have to make it.
All I'm saying to you is you live there for 3 months. You have to pay that 3 months rent. The two of you are going to be jointly responsible for any other monies that are owed to the landlord because you both signed the lease. But you personally lived there for 3 months.
No, he lived there. I'm telling you, he lived there from November, December, January, February, and March. Like, he lived there all the way up until March 3rd.
All I need is proof. This doesn't say he was there in March. Now,
It said, the sheriff said I have to leave. That's what he's talking about.
you ask him where he's been. I haven't heard from you. That was on March 5th.
Yeah.
Don't speak. Listen.
And later today,
I'm almost finished with both of these people. Almost finished with both of these people. If somebody can clarify this to me, fine. Otherwise, I'm sending you on your way. I'm going in back and I'm having a burger.
Tanisha Brown claims her ex-boyfriend, Wesley Smoot, owes for breaching their lease agreement.
All I need is proof that he lived there for those 5 months instead of 3.
I can tell you where he was telling me that he was about to get moved out. He had to move out.
Okay, then I'd like to see that. If you have a text with a date on it, I'd like to see it.
I don't deny we owe the money, but
What?
we owe the money for the landlord. Like, that's joint. We signed it together. We owed it together. Like,
Don't help me. I don't need.
He also had
Don't
3 other
speak.
people living with
Don't
him.
speak. I don't need your help, sir. I just told you. You lived there alone for 3 months. You said you have to pay the rent. Whatever other monies you owe the landlord between the two of you, she's got to pay rent someplace else. She was paying rent someplace else. You were living in this apartment alone. While you were living there alone, I find you got to pay the rent. And if you broke the lease and there was another 2 months or 3 months, then you owe that to the landlord jointly. I'm not getting involved with that. Let the landlord sue you both and get a judgment and attach your salaries.
but that's why I'm being sued now, because they didn't come after me. They went after her.
It says March 5th. It says the sheriff said I had to leave.
Just let me. I'm just going to read it. This doesn't say he was there in March. Now,
The sheriff said I have to leave. That's what he's talking about.
listen to me. You ask him where he's been. I haven't heard from you. That was on March 5th.
Yeah.
Don't speak. Listen. Where have you been? You haven't called or anything. On the same date, he said, I haven't had my phone. The sheriff came and I had to leave. He doesn't say when he had to leave.
That's because he had to leave your apartment, right, Wesley?
Don't ask him.
You asked him then.
3 months.
Really?
23.25.
Tell-
You have to pay for where you're living there.
He was living there from March. Why won't you ask me?
23.25. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done here.
This court is adjourned.
I don't feel like I should owe any of the money, period, because she was the one that they put on the lease, so it was technically like her lease, and she broke lease by leaving.
His name has been on the lease the whole time, so yeah, and he had roommates and everything living with him, so.
I just want to be there for my baby girl. Hopefully I can come see her as soon as I leave here.
Yeah, I just want to be there for my daughter, and hopefully he can do the same, and stop making up excuses.
So that seemed like a pretty common sense solution, but technically they're both responsible for the lease and no one gets to live anywhere for free. If you're living somewhere for free, you're probably the one in the wrong. If you're staying in a place where you know rent is owed and you're not making any contributions, that's going to come back around at some point. So
Right. And strict adherence to landlord and tenant would be that they're both responsible, and they would be responsible. But is it fair? You know, the outcome of a trial is supposed to be fair, and it just doesn't seem fair. She's a mom. She works. She supports herself and her daughter, and it was the right thing to do for him to pay for that apartment until he moved out. If he had moved out at the same time, because they clearly weren't getting along, then the landlord would be after both of them. But he did, in fact, stay and live there. You're right. You can't live any place for free unless you're Sarah.
Case 4031, Bodges versus Johnson. All parties, please come forward.
Trevor Boggs is suing his ex-girlfriend, Aldina Johnson, for an unpaid dental loan.
Mr. Boggs, you and the defendant were dating for a period of time.
Yes, ma'am.
Give me the time frame of when you were dating.
October, July. 2023 to 2024.
And during that time, it is your claim, the defendant, she told you she wanted braces.
She expressed she's been wanting them for a long time. I let her know that I would be able to help her.
Oh, no, just a second. How much money did you give her?
The first amount of money was given in the amount of $500 in January.
And that was specifically for the braces?
Yes, to loan her for that.
Well, did you say I'll give you a loan for the $500, or did you say I'll help you get the braces?
No, I said I'll give you a loan because she wasn't able to get them right in January. Thought there was just a down payment of $500, but there's more. So after that, I told her that I would loan her money to help her while she saved for her braces, and that ended in July.
So in January, you gave her $500, and what happened in July?
We broke up in July.
No. Did you give her another lump sum of money?
No, it was from January all the way till July, where I was loaning her money while she's saving up for whatever amount left she had for the braces.
Well, tell me, how did that work out? You mean every month you gave her a certain amount of money for braces? I don't understand that.
No, her personal needs that she couldn't afford while she was saving, I was loaning her money for that.
So you mean she was saving up and you said you would help her with some of her expenses while she was saving?
Yes, but the agreement was that I would be repaid for it when she finally did get the braces, which she didn't get them till August, second week of August.
Let me hear.
Well, Judge Judy.
Could you keep your voice up to me? I don't want you to show me anything. I want you to tell me. Did he give you $500 in January?
No, ma'am.
No.
No, ma'am.
You have proof that you gave her $500 in January. May I see it, please?
Yes, Your Honor. You want to take it off?
Just don't give me a whole bunch of paper.
Yeah,
Just give me January. $500.
There it is right here.
Well, I see $500 that was sent. Did you receive the $500? I see it was sent. Yeah. That's either a yes or a no.
Yes, in January. Yes, I did.
Okay. And what did you do with the $500?
Actually, that $500 was towards a $1,400 loan that I gave Mr. Boggs in December.
Well, I don't believe that because that's not what you say in your answer, Miss Johnson. See, what you say in your answer was couples do things for each other. And I gave him $1,400 for a car for his niece. You never said in your answer that that was a loan and that the $500 was a partial repayment for that loan. So you have to make up your mind what it is. After Trevor almost lost his leg in a motorcycle accident, I would arrive late to work and leave early so I could take care of him. That's nice. That's what people do if they're in a relationship. If they want to. Otherwise, they think, listen, when you get better, call me, right? What does that have to do with me?
Trevor Boggs claims his ex-girlfriend, Aldina Johnson, refuses to pay for the cost of her braces. Aldina is countersuing Trevor for lost wages.
Either you swore in your answer that you gave him that money for his niece's car, or it was a loan.
May I speak, Judge?
Sure.
Trevor gave me $500 towards the payment of the $1,400 that I gave him in January. That's what that was for.
Well, let me go back, Mr. Boggs.
Yes, ma'am.
To you. Did Miss Johnson give you $1,400 towards your niece's car ever?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Show me.
Okay. I have.
No, just show me.
Okay, this is the $1,400 that I sent Trevor cash out December 4th.
Okay. Let me see.
But it didn't go through, so I had.
Okay, well, December 4th, she sent you $1,400,
No.
which failed.
Exactly. So, because it failed, I had to go to my bank and withdraw the money out of my account, and I gave Mr. Boggs, gave it to him in cash.
Sarah Rose, I don't know what this is for. This doesn't tell you anything. He said thank you to her, or she said thank you to him?
That's saying payment from him to her, and she replied with a heart.
Who's saying thank you?
That's just his message in the memo line to her.
Which says thank you.
That does not say thank you.
What is that? What does this mean?
For something. You can take a poll, either high five or praying hand.
I better stop using that. I've been using it as a thank you.
No,
so
I've noticed.
What?
I've noticed.
I have to. Thank you.
It's usually like a, no, not a thank you, like a praying hands or high five.
The only legitimate transactions that occurred through Cash App were the ones that I have printouts here for. No money was exchanged. I loaned her money for braces. She got the braces. We broke up. She decided she didn't want to repay me, so I had to sue her.
Okay. Did you get the braces?
Yes, I did, Judge.
Just a second. And how much were they?
I believe they were $6,000.
Did you pay the dentist?
Yes, I did. I paid the dentist myself. the $500.
Cash. Well, he gave you $500. He says that they were for the braces.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
That's not the truth.
Well, maybe not. By the way, just so that I can put it all together, tell me about your version of this $1,400, which he says never existed. Come on, tell me about it.
The $1,400 that Mr. Boggs asked me for was to help his niece with a down payment for a car.
Well, tell me what he said to you. Tell me.
What he said was, he asked me, could I help him? He said that he overpaid her out of his account. And I said, sure, I'll
Just a
help
second.
you.
He said he overpaid her from his account? What does that mean?
That means that he overpaid, meaning he spent too much money out of his account to where he needed help from me.
For himself?
Yes, for himself. But it was for his
I'm
niece.
almost finished with both of these people. Almost finished with both of these people. So you didn't loan him $1,400 to give his niece for a car. Now, according to you, he gave money to his niece and he asked you for $1,400 because he was short in his account.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you gave that to him, according to you, even though you didn't have money for the dentist.
May I speak?
Sure.
Judy?
If somebody can clarify this to me, fine. Otherwise, I'm sending you on your way. I'm going in the back and I'm having a burger.
The $1,400 that I gave Trevor was specifically for his niece. The $500 that he sent me was specifically for repayment of that $1,400.
So according to you, he would still owe you the balance of the $1,400.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'm going to read you your sworn deposition, madam, and then I'm throwing you both out. Trevor and I were in a relationship, and we gave each other money numerous times without expectation of repayment. Without expectation of repayment. For example, early in the relationship, I gave him $1,400 for a down payment on his niece's car, and he never returned the amount, nor did I expect it. When people are in a loving, committed relationship, that's what they do for each other. That's what you wrote, that's what you signed. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then your countersuit is that after Trevor almost lost his leg in a motorcycle accident, I would arrive late to work and leave early so I could take care of him. That's nice. What does that have to do with me? That's what people do if they're in a relationship. If they want to. Otherwise, they say, listen, when you get better, call me. Right? In your case, you said, I'm going to help you. You don't get paid for that.
May I speak to you?
No. However, when he was up and moving, he cold-heartedly left me. I lost 8 hours from work when he was released and 24 hours of overtime over the course of 2 weeks, totaling $940. So you want $2,000 for lost wages and emotional distress. That's what your counterclaim is.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else?
No, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Grow up, folks. It's over. We're done. Thank you. Case is dismissed. As is your counterclaim. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
Yeah, I think I should have probably just let her take care of that lifelong dream on her own. I learned a valuable lesson. It's okay.
He just came out and told a lie. Other than that, it is what it is.
I just wanted my money back.
Stay single.
Just another great example of how when you're in a committed relationship, there's not a lot of nickel and diming. You know, you get the fast food for dinner here, pick up the next dinner, you get the drinks, you get the coffee. But it just shows how important it is to memorialize if there is a larger loan that you're not gifting to your significant other at the time. You should memorialize that. Have it written something, have a video something, have a photograph. Because then if he had brought that, instead of us having to speculate what this means, he could have said 4 braces down payment. You know, so that would have just made it easier. So always, I know it's hard in the moment because you never think you're going to break up. You never think it's going to go south. But it's just always better that if you're expecting any repayment, you should have those sorts of things to fall back on.
Whoever you're loaning money to, whether it's a sibling or your best friend, you memorialize it somewhere. You know, it used to be, Sarah.
The memo line of a
in
check.
the good old days, right. You wrote it on the check memo.
Just another lesson for people in the new age for transferring money. Definitely just write what it's for. It makes things like this very easy if it does go south.
Yeah.
Have you been cheated? Go to judyjustice.tv.
The Survivor's Heart. A Houston Story. Part 2. The Unfolding Road. Chapter 36. The Morning After Forever. The first year of marriage is often described as a honeymoon phase, but for Reba Hart now, Reba Hart Ashford, it felt more like a delicate architectural renovation. You don't just move a man like Julian Ash into a house that has been the fortress of a single mother for 2 decades without a few structural. It was 6 a.m. on a Tuesday, and the Houston sun was already beginning to bake the dew off the Santa grass. Reba stood in her kitchen, the familiar smell of coffee filling the air. For 20 years, this had been her sanctuary, the place where she made her battle plans and drank her quietest cups of tea. Now, there was a second coffee mug on the counter, a sleek, black ceramic thing that looked far too modern for her rustic kitchen. Julian walked in, wearing a tailored robe and holding a tablet. He looked refreshed, a stark contrast to the slightly frazzled energy Reba usually carried into the dawn. "Morning," partner Julian said, leaning down to kiss her cheek. "Morning, you're up early, planning to conquer another zip code," Reba teased, though she leaned into the kiss. "Just reviewing the preliminary plans for the River Oaks renovation. And I was thinking about the guest house." Reba froze, her spoon hovering over the sugar bowl. "The guest house? You mean Brock's habitat?" "I was thinking it might be time for an upgrade, not just the building. Reba, the situation. He's sober, he's healthy, and he's Brock. But don't you think he needs his own ground, not just the ground we give him?" Reba sighed, the steam from her coffee fogging her vision. "Julian Brock is like a decorative ivy. Once he takes root, you can't move him without taking half the siding with you. Besides, Barbara Jean wouldn't know what to do if she couldn't walk across the yard to borrow my dignity every afternoon." "I'm not saying we kick him out," Julian said, putting his tablet down. "I'm saying we help him find a venture, something of his own." Van mentioned that the local junior college is looking for a volunteer coordinator for their athletic department. "Brock needs a whistle and a clipboard. Reba, he needs a reason to wear a polo shirt that isn't for a wedding." Reba looked out the window at the guest house. She saw Brock standing on the porch, squinting at the sun, probably wondering if it was too early to check the garden for thematic vegetables. "You might be right," Reba admitted, "but if this blows up, you're the one who has to explain it to Barbara Jean. I'm not equipped to handle her grief." Chapter 37. The Ghost in the Foundation. While Reba and Julian were navigating the logistics of a blended life, the Heights project was facing a new, phantom threat. It wasn't legal this time, but social. A series of strange occurrences began at the site's small things at first. A sold sign knocked over, a window found open in the middle of the night. A series of spray-painted symbols on the sidewalk that looked more like ancient runes than modern graffiti. Van Montgomery, ever the closing specialist, was the first to report it. "Mrs. H, I think the Heights is haunted," Van said, bursting into the office with a frantic energy that suggested he had spent the morning watching ghost hunting documentaries. "Van, please. We live in Houston. The only ghosts we have are the spirits of people who died waiting in traffic on I," Reba said, not looking up from her ledger. "I'm serious. I was doing a final walkthrough on Unit 12 last night, and I heard music, but not radio music. It sounded like an old record player. And the smell, Mrs. H, it smelled like lavender and old books." Reba paused. Lavender and old books. It was a specific combination that triggered a memory she had buried long ago. "Did you see anyone, Van?" "No. But Cooper the dog. You know he wouldn't even go inside. He just sat on the porch and whimpered. And Cooper is a professional. He has a tuxedo." Reba stood up, a cold knot forming in her stomach. "I'll go down there tonight. Alone." "Alone, Mrs. H. You need backup. I have a flashlight and a heavy-duty stapler." "The stapler won't work on ghosts, Van. Stay here. Watch the phones." That night, the Heights felt different. The houses stood like sentinels in the moonlight, their clean lines and modern finishes glowing with a silver sheen. Reba walked toward Unit 12, her footsteps echoing on the pavement. As she reached the porch, she smelled it, lavender, sharp and sweet, cutting through the humid night air. She pushed the door open. The house was empty, the walls still smelling of fresh paint, but there was a presence. She felt it in the way the air seemed to vibrate. "Who's there?" Reba asked, her voice steady. A shadow moved in the corner of the living room. It wasn't a ghost. It was a woman, small, frail, and dressed in a vintage floral coat that had seen better days. She was holding a small, battery-operated record player. "It was our porch," the woman whispered, before the glass boxes. "My husband and I, we sat right here for 40 years. We grew the lavender." Reba felt her heart soften. This wasn't a legal claim or a corporate attack. It was the human cost of progress. "I'm Reba," she said, stepping into the room. "I'm the one who sold the house that stood here before." "You sold the bones," the woman said, her eyes vacant. "But you can't sell the echoes. I just wanted to hear our song one last time, before the new people move in with their smart fridges and their lack of history." Reba sat on the floor next to the woman. For the next hour, she didn't talk about square footage or closing costs. She listened to stories of a Houston that existed before the city of porches and slow conversations and lavender gardens. When the woman finally left, Reba stood on the porch and looked at the modern development. She realized that Julian was right. The big picture didn't matter if the foundation was underwater. But she also realized that the foundation wasn't just made of concrete, it was made of stories. Chapter 38. The Relapse of Routine. For Cheyenne, the second year of sobriety was in many ways harder than the first. The novelty had worn off. The high of being a newcomer, of getting her chips and her tokens, had been replaced by the long, flat plateau of daily maintenance. Sobriety wasn't a mountain she had climbed, it was a road she was paving while she walked on it. She was in the kitchen, helping Elizabeth with a puzzle. When the itch returned, it wasn't triggered by stress or a car wreck, it was triggered by boredom. The sheer, terrifying weight of a Tuesday afternoon when nothing was wrong. Just one. A voice whispered in the back of her mind, just to make the puzzle more interesting, just to make the silence less loud. She reached for her purse, her fingers brushing against the amber bottle of booze away. She hadn't taken a pill in months. She felt like she had outgrown them. She felt like she was cured. But as she looked at Elizabeth, she saw her mother's eyes. She saw the survivor in the toddler's determined face, as she tried to fit a blue piece into a green hole. Cheyenne picked up the phone and called her sponsor, Kelly. "I'm having a moment," Cheyenne said, her voice trembling. "Where are you?" Kelly asked instantly. "The kitchen, looking at a puzzle, and a cabinet." "Don't look at the cabinet. Look at the puzzle." "Tell me about the puzzle." "Cheyenne, what's the picture?" "It's a farm. There's a red barn and a cow that looks like Barbara Jean." Kelly laughed. "Good. Stay on the phone. Tell me about the cow. Tell me every detail until the itch stops." They talked for 40 minutes. By the time they hung up, the itch had subsided into a dull hum. Cheyenne realized that her mother was right. You don't survive the hard way once. You survive the hard way every single day. She didn't take a pill. She didn't reach for the cabinet. She just finished the puzzle. And for Cheyenne, that was a victory greater than any gala or commission. Chapter 39. The Van Montgomery Expansion. Van Montgomery had decided that being a senior partner required a more sophisticated approach to marketing. He had traded his golden retriever for a digital strategy that involved drones, 3D modeling, and what he called the "It's a multi-platform narrative experience," Mrs. H. Van explained, showing her a video on his phone. The video featured a drone flying through the heights, narrated by Van in a voice that was trying very hard to sound like a nature documentary host. Witness the majestic suburbanite, in its natural habitat. Van's voice intoned over shots of families having picnics. Observe the modern kitchen, where the coffee is always artisanal, and the granite is always cool to the touch. "Van, you sounds like you're stalking our clients," Reba said, leaning back in her chair. "It's immersive storytelling. People don't want to buy a house. They want to buy a role in a movie." "And what's my role?" "You're the producer, the visionary, the one who makes it all happen." "And what's Julian?" Van hesitated. "He's the special effects coordinator, because he handles the big booms and the structural stuff." Reba smiled. For all his absurdity, Van had a point. They were telling stories. They were selling a future. But as she thought about the woman in Unit 12, she realized they needed to be careful. "Van, I want you to add something to the van." "Anything. More drones. I can get a second drone." "No, I want you to add a heritage section. I want us to collect the stories of the people who lived on these lots before. I want a plaque in the community park with the names of the original families. We're not just building a legacy for the new people, Van. We're honoring the one that was already here." Van's face softened. The director persona dropped away, and the boy with the heart of gold returned. "That's a great idea, Mrs. H. I'll get right on it. The heart of the heart." Don't call it that, Reba said, but do it. Chapter 40. The Barbara Jean Intervention. Barbara Jean was in a state of existential crisis. Now that Reba was married and Cheyenne was mentoring, she felt like her role as the family's resident fire starter was being extinguished. I feel like a bundt cake without the hole in the middle. Brocky, she told Brock as he sat on the porch of the guest house. I'm just a solid mass of purposeless sweetness. Brock, who was currently reading a book on the psychology of the 442 defense, looked up. You're not purposeless, BJ. Colorful is what you call a house you can't sell. I need a mission. I need an obstacle to overcome. Well, Brock said, closing his book, Julianne and Reba think I need a mission. They're trying to upgrade my situation. Barbara Jean's eyes narrowed. Upgrade? What does that mean? Are they trying to move you to a different zip code? Are they trying to separate us? No. They're trying to give me a job, coordinating athletics at the college. Barbara Jean stood up, her pastel tracksuit rustling. A job? You can't have a job. Who will help me with the community garden? Who will listen to my theories on the spiritual properties of lavender? I'll still be here, BJ. It's time. I'm tired of being the ivy on the side of the house. I want to be the tree, or at least a well-maintained shrub. Barbara Jean looked at him, and for a rare moment, she was quiet. She saw the look in his eyes, the same look she had seen when they first met. He was a man who needed to lead. He was a man who needed a team. Fine, she said, her voice small. But if you start wearing those short coaching shorts, I'm calling a fashion intervention. Deal, Brock said, pulling her into a hug. As the sun set over the Houston suburbs, the Hart family was once again in a state of flux. But this time, they weren't just surviving the change. They were building it. Chapter 41. The Summer of Shifting Shadows. The heat of a Houston August is not merely a temperature. It is an atmospheric condition that tests the sanity of the strong and the cooling capacity of the weak. For Reba, it was the season of the August slump. Listings were slow, clients were at the coast, and the air was so thick it felt like walking through warm soup. She was in the office, the fan clicking rhythmically overhead, when the front door chime rang. A man walked in. He was tall, silver-haired, and wore a suit that looked like it belonged in a different decador, perhaps a different city. Can I help you? Reba asked, putting on her professional smile despite the sweat beading on her upper lip. I'm looking for Reba Hart, the man said. His voice was gravelly, with a faint trace of an East Texas drawl. You found her, and you are. My name is Harlan Thorne. I believe you knew my father. Reba's smile froze. Harlan Thorne, the name sent a jolt of electricity through her. The Thorne family had been the royalty of the real estate world when Reba was just a junior agent. Her father had worked for them and, according to the family legend, they were the ones who had unceremoniously fired him when the market crashed in the 80s, leaving the Harts to scramble for every penny. I knew of him, Reba said, her voice turning cool. What can I do for you, Mr. Thorne? I'm liquidating the estate. There's a Propodia large tract of land near the Brazos. My father always said it was the one that got away. He mentioned your father had the original survey records that were never turned over to the firm. Reba leaned back in her chair. If my father had records, he kept them for a reason. And given the way your family treated him, I'm surprised you'd have the nerve to walk in here and ask for them. Harlan didn't flinch. I'm not asking for a favor, Mrs. Hart. I'm offering a commission. A significant one. That land is worth 10 times what it was 30 years ago. If those records exist, and if you help me move that property, the Hart name will finally get the payout. It was denied. Reba looked at him, her mind racing. This was more than a deal. It was a chance to settle an old score, but it was also a ghost from the past she wasn't sure she wanted to invite into her new life. I'll look into it, Reba said, but don't get your hopes up. My father was a lot of things, but he wasn't a man who left things unfinished. Chapter 42. The Attic of Secrets. That evening, Reba found herself in the one place she had been avoiding for years, the attic of her childhood home, which she still used for storage. It was a dusty, cramped space, filled with boxes of memories, old school reports, Brock's college trophies, and a dozen trunks belonging to her father. Julian found her there, sitting on a trunk and sneezing as she sifted through stacks of yellowed papers. Reba, what are you doing up here? It's 90 degrees in this attic. I'm looking for the ghost of my father's career, she said, wiping a smudge of dust from her forehead. She told him about Harlan Thorne and the Brazos property. You think the records are here? Julian asked, sitting down beside her. My father was a pack rat for anything related to land. He used to say that land was the only thing that didn't lie to you. They spent the next 2 hours digging through the trunks. They found old blueprints, personal letters, and a collection of vintage surveyor's tools. But at the bottom of the last trunk, wrapped in a piece of oilcloth, they found a leather-bound ledger. Reba opened it. It wasn't just a survey. It was a map of the Brazos property, detailed with meticulous notes in her father's elegant script. But as she read the notes, her eyes widened. Julian, look at this. She pointed to a section of the map marked with a series of red X's. The notes beside them read, Unstable foundation, subterranean cavern system. Unfit for high-density development. Thorne warned. Advice ignored. He didn't keep the records to spite them, Reba whispered. He kept them to protect the people who might buy that land. He knew the Thorne family would try to build on it anyway. And now Harlan wants to sell it, Julian said, his eyes darkening. Probably to a developer who doesn't know about the caverns. Reba closed the ledger. The Thorne family fired my father because he wouldn't sign off on a lie. They tried to ruin him because he was honest. What are you going to do? Reba stood up, the dust of the past clinging to her emerald silk dress. I'm going to do what my father did. I'm going to tell the truth, but this time, I'm going to make sure the whole of Houston hears it. Chapter 43. The Whistleblower's Gambit. The following week, Reba invited Harlan Thorne to the office. She didn't invite him alone. She invited a reporter from the Chronicle and a representative from the Texas Geological Society. Harlan walked in, looking confident. You found the records, I assume. I did, Reba said, laying the ledger on the table, and I found out why my father kept them. She opened the book to the map of the caverns. The room went silent as the geological expert leaned in to examine the notes. This is incredible, the expert said. This cavern system is documented perfectly. Building high-density townhomes on this tract would be a disaster. The whole foundation would collapse within 5 years. Harlan's face went from confident to pale to a deep, angry red. This ledger is old. Modern engineering can't fix a lie. Harlan, Reba interrupted. My father lost his job because he wouldn't put his name on a project that was dangerous. You came in here trying to use the Hart name to finish what your father started. The reporter was already scribbling in his notebook. The commission is off the table, Harlan, Reba said, her voice like steel. But I'm filing a formal report with the Land Commission. That tract is going to be designated as a protected natural area. No one will ever build a glass box on it. As Harlan stormed out, followed by the reporter, Reba felt a strange lightness in her chest. For 30 years, the story of her father's firing had been a source of shame and struggle. Now, it was a story of integrity. You did it, Mrs. H. Van said, popping a bottle of sparkling cider. You closed the biggest case in Hart family history. I didn't close it, Van Reba said, looking at the ledger. I just finally turned the page. Chapter 44. The New Growth. By the time the Houston humidity began to break in late September, the Brazos property had been officially designated as the Hart-Thorne Nature Preserve. It was a compromise that allowed the land to be saved while acknowledging the history, though everyone in the real estate world knew it was Reba Hart who had forced the issue. The thematic garden in the suburbs was also thriving. Barbara Jean had managed to grow a pumpkin that was the size of a small ottoman, which she had named Reba. It's because it's solid and a bit thick-skinned, but sweet on the inside, Barbara Jean explained. Reba chose not to take offense. Brock had started his job at the college. He looked different, more focused, more energized. He still lived in the guest house, but he was paying rent now, a symbolic gesture that Julian and Reba had accepted with pride. Cheyenne was continuing her work as a sponsor. Kelly was 6 months sober and had just been promoted to lead assistant at the title company. They were a team, 2 survivors who were helping others find their footing. One evening, Reba and Julian sat on their back porch, watching the fireflies dance over the lawn. You know, Julian said, taking her hand, I came to Houston to build a legacy. I thought it was about the skyline. And now I think a legacy is just the space you leave behind for other people to grow, he said, looking at her. You taught me that, Reba. Well, Reba said, leaning her head on his shoulder, I had a lot of practice. Being a survivor is just another way of saying you're a builder who doesn't give up on the foundation. As the sounds of the Houston night surrounded them, the distant hum of the freeway, the chirp of the cicadas, the laughter of Van and Cheyenne from inside the house, Reba Hatashford finally let go of the battle. She wasn't fighting the past anymore. She was living the future. And for the first time in her life, the future didn't look like an obstacle. It looked like home. Chapter 45. The Infinite Circle. A novel doesn't truly end. It just reaches a point where the characters can handle the rest of the story on their own. As the years passed, the Hart household continued to be the center of a beautiful, chaotic universe. There were more. Wedding scarer eventually married a brilliant, quiet architect who was the only person who could out-sarcasm her. There were more grandchildren, and more code white emergencies involving lost toys and high fevers. Reba and Julian grew old together, their partnership becoming a legend in the Houston real estate world. They never built the perfect skyscraper, but they built thousands of homes where people felt safe. Van Montgomery eventually took over the firm, though he never stopped calling Reba Mrs. H. He became the most successful agent in the city's history, mostly because he never lost the ability to see the heart in a house. Cheyenne remained the pillar of her community, a woman who proved every day that your past doesn't define your destination. And Barbara Jean, well, Barbara Jean continued to be Barbara Jean. She lived to be and her last request was to be buried with a bundt cake pan, so she could show those Germans a thing or two in the afterlife. Reba Hart lived her life with gentle hands and the heart of a fighter. She survived the storms, she survived the lies, and most importantly, she survived the quiet moments. She was a survivor. But as the story of her heart proves, she was so much more. She was a heart. And in Houston, that means you never, ever stop growing. The end. The Texas Flip. A novel of risk, love, and real estate. Chapter 1. The Curse of the Redhead. The Texas sun was an unapologetic weight, pressing down on the asphalt of the Houston suburbs, until the air shimmered with the ghost of heat. Inside the Hart household, Reba Hart sat at the kitchen table. A stack of closing documents mocked her from under the fluorescent light. She was a woman built of grit and fire-red hair, but today, the fire felt like it was smoldering under a pile of damp ashes. "I sold it," Reba announced to the empty room, her voice a mixture of triumph and poison. "That little starter home on Elm Street, the one I've been nursing like a sick kitten for 6 months, gone." Cheyenne, her eldest daughter, wandered in, balancing a toddler on one hip and a look of vague concern on her face. "That's good, right, Mom? Isn't selling houses the whole point of your job?" Reba let out a dry, hacking laugh. "In theory, yes. In practice, I am apparently a charitable organization for people named David Davids." She explained the sting. David Davids, a man whose parents were clearly as uninspired as his business ethics, was another agent at a firm. He hadn't bought the house to live in. He hadn't bought it to help a family. He had bought it to flip it. Within 48 hours, he had listed it for $50,000 more than Reba had sold it for. 50 grand, Cheyenne, Reba whispered, the number tasting like copper in her mouth. "He made my annual salary in a weekend, because he had the stones to buy low. I'm the one getting tossed around while everyone else lands on their feet." "Well," Cheyenne said, sliding into the chair opposite her mother, "why don't you just be the flipper? You know more about these houses than anyone." Reba looked at her daughter with the weary patience of a woman who had seen the bottom of a wine bottle and the bottom of a bank account. "Because, honey, the bank doesn't lend money to red-headed women with grit. They lend it to people with high credit scores. Mine took a nosedive during the divorce and never pulled out of the tailspin. Don't ever get divorced. Cheyenne, it ruined your soul and your interest rates." The conversation shifted, as it often did in the Hart house, toward the absurd. They discussed Van, Cheyenne's husband, former high school football star whose professional career had ended with an injury, and whose current career consisted mostly of being charming and occasionally profound in the most unexpected ways. "Van has a pre-approval letter," Cheyenne mentioned casually. Reba froze. "He what?" "He got it months ago. Every time he and Brock get into a fight and Brock threatens to kick us out of the guest house, Van gets paranoid. He wanted a quick exit strategy. He's got the credit. Mom, he's got the golden ticket." Reba's mind began to work. It was a dangerous sound, the sound of a woman who had nothing left to lose and a bottle of whiteout in the junk drawer. Chapter 2. The Froth on the Market. Van Montgomery was a man of simple pleasures. A good sandwich, a loud television, and the unwavering belief that he was the protagonist of a very interesting movie. When Reba approached him with the partnership, he didn't react with the excitement she expected. Instead, he leaned back in his recliner, looking like a retired Pass, Van said. Reba blinked. Pass, Van. I am offering you the chance of a lifetime. We use your credit, my brains, and we rake in the cash. We could be the next power duo of Houston real estate. Mrs. H. Van said, using the nickname that always made Reba feel both respected and incredibly old. The housing market is falsely inflated. It's full of untrained speculators. To quote Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan, the froth is on the market. Reba stared at him. Do you even know what that means? Did you just eat a dictionary? I know that when an old guy in a suit talks about money, I listen, Van replied. Risk is for people who have something to gain. I have everything I need right here. Why would I gamble our future on a bubble that's about to burst? But Reba knew Van. She knew he was a creature of ego. She knew that he prided himself on his stones, that elusive, masculine quality of bravery. You're just afraid, Reba challenged, her eyes narrowing. Davids is making a fortune, because he has the nerve. You're just talking. You're all talk and no trigger. Van bristled. The air in the room changed. You think I don't have stones? I put forks in toasters. Mrs. H.I. live on the edge. A fork in a toaster gets you an English muffin and a mild heart arrhythmia, Reba snapped. Buying a house gets you a life. I guarantee you, I will find a house to flip within the week. 7 days. You in or out? Van looked at her, the challenge hanging between them like a physical weight. 1 week or 7 days, whichever comes first. You find the deal, I provide the credit. But if it blows up, it's on your red head. Chapter 3. The Satellite Confessional. While Reba and Van were plotting their financial empire, Brock Hart was experiencing a different kind of crisis. Brock, a dentist, with a penchant for midlife crisis, purchases, and a leopard print thong he thought was fun, was currently lost. He was driving his expensive SUV, his second wife Barbara Jean in the passenger seat. They were supposed to be at the opera. They were currently in a cul-de-sac that looked suspiciously like the one they had left 20 minutes ago. We missed the first act. Brock, Barbara Jean sighed. She was a woman who lived for drama, ruffles, and the feeling of being cherished. If you would just ask for directions. I don't need directions. I'm a dentist. I navigate complex root canals every day, Brock shouted, his grip tightening on the steering wheel. And don't talk to me about the opera. No straight man wants to go to the opera. I bought those tickets as a sacrifice. A sacrifice. Barbara Jean's voice hit a high, tremulous note. I just wanted a dull conversation, Brock. I spent all day with a 3-year-old. I need someone to talk to who doesn't use a diaper. In a fit of pique, Barbara Jean reached out and pressed the blue button on the rearview mirror of the Econostar assistance system. Don't touch that, Brock yelled. It costs $2 a minute, plus tax. Hello, this is Hal from Econostar. A smooth, calm voice drifted through the car speakers. Barbara Jean's face lit up. Oh, hi, Hal. I'm Barbara Jean. You sound very helpful. I try to be. Barbara Jean, are you lost? In more ways than one, Hal. In more ways than one. Over the next week, as Reba scoured the city for a house, Barbara Jean found a new confidant. While Brock retreated into his silence and his dental journals, Barbara Jean sat in the parked car in the garage, talking to the satellite. She told Hal about her childhood in friendly Texas. She told him about her sister, but ugly Lorianne. She told him about the loneliness that gnawed at the edges of her bubbly personality. It was a romance of the digital age, a woman seeking a voice in the dark, and a man paid by the hour to listen. Chapter 4. The 7-Day Hitch. Reba was exhausted. She had looked at 52 houses in 6 days. She had smelled mold that could melt paint. She had seen foundations that looked like a jigsaw puzzle after an earthquake. She had talked to neighbors who owned more shotguns than teeth. On the 7th day, she sat in the kitchen, defeated. I got nothing, Van, she admitted when he walked in, looking smug. Zilch. You were right. I'm cursed. I look at a house, and I see the plumbing failing. I see the termites. I see the catastrophe. I don't have the stones. Van looked at her, and for a moment, the bravado dropped. He saw his mother-in-law, a woman who had held the family together through his own failures, and Cheyenne's struggles looking truly broken. Well, Mrs. H. Van said softly, it's a good thing I didn't wait for you. Reba looked up. I bought a house. Reba's heart stopped. You what? Without an inspection, without me seeing it. I had to move fast, Van said, his chest puffing out. There were 15 other offers. I took it as is. No risk, no reward. Right. That's what the flippers do. Van, as is in real estate, means this house is a portal to hell, Reba screamed. You used our money, our future on a gamble? I believe in us, Van said, though his voice wavered slightly. I believe in your luck. You're like a four-leaf clover with a temper. Tomorrow, we go see the verdict. Chapter 5. The Revelation in the Driveway. The house was a beige bungalow that looked like it was sighing under the weight of its own existence. Reba stood on the sidewalk, clutching her briefcase like a shield. I can't do it, Van, she whispered. If we walk in there and the inspector tells us the foundation is cracked, we lose everything. I'm not lucky. Every time something good happens, the other shoe drops, and usually, it's a heavy boot. Van walked over to her. He didn't look like the goofy kid who put forks in toasters anymore. He looked like a man who understood something Reba had forgotten. Mrs. H, you think you're jinxed? Van said. But look at me. When my parents kicking me out, I found a home with you. When I got hurt, you helped me heal. When Cheyenne was struggling with the sauce, you were the one who kept the light on. Things don't get worse when you're around. They get better. You're not the jinx. You're the cure. Reba felt a tear prick her eye. Van, that is the sweetest, most manipulative thing you have ever said. I mean it. Now, do you want to back out? I'll take the hit. I'll let you off the hook right now before we hear the report. Reba looked at the house. She looked at Van. For the first time in years, she felt a spark of that old fire. Let's see what we bought. The inspector walked out of the front door, wiping his brow. He looked at them. Well, the house is a dump. Van's face fell. Reba felt the world tilt. Just kidding. The inspector grinned. I love doing that. The house is solid. Roof is new. Plumbing is copper. And the foundation is like a rock. You guys got a steal. Reba nearly collapsed with relief. Van, we did it. We're flippers. As they celebrated, the inspector turned to Van. Funny though, usually people don't pay for 2 inspections in 1 week. Reba froze. 2 inspections. The inspector nodded. Yeah, Van had me out here last Tuesday before he put the offer in. He knew the house was perfect before he even showed it to you. Reba turned to Van, her eyes narrowing. You set me up. The whole lucky speech. Diaz's gamble. You knew all along. Van shrugged, a slow, guilty smile spreading across his face. I believe in you, Mrs. H, but I'm not an idiot. I'm a businessman. Chapter 6. The Shadow of Two Names. Victory, Reba soon discovered, had a very specific scent. Stale cigarette smoke and wet dog. That was the primary olfactory profile of the steel Van had purchased. As they stood in the living room the following morning, the reality of their situation began to sink in. The walls were a shade of yellow that suggested the previous owners had been heavy smokers, all very confused about interior design. The carpet felt like it was alive, and not in a friendly, Pixar-movie kind of way. Okay, Van Reba said, snapping a pair of yellow rubber gloves onto her hands. We have the house. We have the luck. Now we need the labor. If we want to flip this before the bubble bursts, we need to be out of here in 30 days. 30 days, Van scoffed, waving a crowbar around like a scepter. Mrs. H, I was a linebacker. I can move walls. I can move mountains. A little wallpaper isn't going to stop the Montgomery hard juggernaut. Suddenly, the front door creaked open, admitting a sliver of bright Texas sunshine and a man who looked like he had been manufactured in a factory to produce smugness and expensive teeth. Well, the man said, his voice a smooth, oily drawl. If it isn't the dynamic duo, and by dynamic, I mean desperate. Reba's spine stiffened. David Davids, what are you doing here? Did you run out of other people's listings to exploit? David Davids stepped into the room, his Italian leather loafers clicking ominously on the hardwood floor that was currently covered in grime. He looked around with an expression of performative pity. I heard you two actually bought this lemon. I'm here as a friend. Reba, a mentor, if you will. I'd rather take advice from a bag of hammers, Reba snapped. I'm serious, David said, leaning against a door frame that looked suspiciously like it had wood rot. This neighborhood is shifting. The froth is turning into a foam. I'll do you a favor. I'll take this off your hands right now. Full price of what you paid. Plus 5 grand for your trouble. Consider it a failure insurance policy. Van stepped forward, the crowbar still in his hand. 5 grand. You made 50 on the last one. Davy, 2 names. You think we're that stupid? David smiled, a slow, shark-like expression. I think you're out of your league. Real estate isn't about heart, Reba. It's about cold, hard numbers. And these numbers, they don't look good for you. You've got 30 days before the interest on that bridge loan starts eating your soul. See you at the auction. He turned and strolled out, the sound of his Porsche idling in the driveway serving as a final insult. Reba looked at Van. The silence in the dusty room was heavy. He's right about one thing, she whispered. The clock is ticking. Chapter 7. The Hammer of Justice. The first week of renovation was a descent into a specific kind of hell. Reba, Van, and a very reluctant Cheyenne were the primary labor force. Van's approach to demolition was enthusiastic but unguided. He had managed to take down a known load-bearing wall in 20 minutes, but he had also accidentally severed a water line that flooded the kitchen. It's a water feature, Van shouted as he tried to plug the leak with his thumb. It adds value. It's organic. Reba was currently balanced on a ladder, scraping 3 decades of popcorn sealing off with a spatula. Van, if you call one more disaster organic, I'm going to bury you in the backyard and tell the police you were a natural fertilizer. Cheyenne was in the corner, wearing a designer face mask and gingerly painting a baseboard. I don't see why we can't just hire people. Mom, this is ruining my manicure. And the smell. I think I'm developing a permanent allergy to 1982. We can't hire people because we spent all the money on the down payment and the as-is closing costs. Reba grunted, a flake of ceiling landing in her hair. Sweat equity. Cheyenne, that's what flips are made of. As the sun began to set, casting long, orange shadows through the bare windows, Brock pulled up in his SUV. He looked tired, but he was carrying several bags of fast food, the universal olive branch of the Hart family. I brought sustenance, Brock announced, stepping over a pile of discarded drywall. And news? Is the news that you've decided to pay for a contractor? Reba asked hopefully. No. The news is that Barbara Jean has decided she is a visionary designer, Brock said with a sigh. She's been watching HGTV for 18 hours straight. She has a mood board. And Reba, it involves a lot of turquoise. Reba closed her eyes. Lord, give me the stones to survive this. Chapter 8. The Turquoise Temptation. Barbara Jean arrived the next morning like a whirlwind of ruffles and enthusiasm. She was carrying a stack of magazines and a paint fan that was 90% neon. Reba, honey, I have it, she squealed, hugging Reba and leaving a faint scent of lavender and desperation on her work shirt. The friendly, Texas aesthetic. We're going to make this house feel like a warm hug from a neighbor you actually like. Barbara Jean, Reba said slowly, trying to maintain her sanity. This is a flip. It needs to be neutral. Grays, whites. Maybe a grege if we're feeling spicy. We want people to see themselves here, not a hug from a stranger. Oh, Reba, you're so cynical, Barbara Jean said, spreading her magazines across a dusty countertop. Look at this, Bohushi questions N. It's the next big thing. We need a feature wall in the living room. Something bold. Something that says, I have a personality, and I'm not afraid to use it. Van walked in, covered in sawdust. I like bold. Bold is good. Is it as bold as putting a fork in a toaster? It's bolder, Van, Barbara Jean cried. It's turquoise dream. For the next 4 hours, Reba fought a losing battle against the turquoise tide. Every time she turned her back, Barbara Jean was pitching a whimsical light fixture or a tile pattern that looked like a kaleidoscope had an accident. But as Reba watched Barbara Jean watch the way she genuinely cared about making the space beautiful, she realized something. Barbara Jean wasn't just trying to design a house. She was trying to design a place where she belonged. Okay, Reba said, finally putting down her scraper. One feature wall, in the small bedroom. If the buyers hate it, we can paint over it in an hour. Barbara Jean's face lit up like a Christmas tree. You won't regret this. It's going to be a masterpiece. As Barbara Jean skipped off to the hardware store, Reba looked at Van. We are going to lose so much money, aren't we? Van put an arm around her, his dusty shoulder rubbing against hers. Maybe. But hey, at least we'll have stones. Turquoise ones. Chapter 9. the dust and the dream. By the middle of the second week, the steel house had been stripped to its bones. The turquoise feature wall was done, looking like a neon bruise in the middle of a beige room, but Barbara Jean was delighted. Reba, on the other hand, was calculating the cost of a bucket of white primer. "It's about the journey, Mrs. Ish," Van said, his face smeared with soot. He had spent the morning in the crawl space trying to figure out why the guest bathroom smelled like low tide. "The journey is currently costing us $500 a day in interest. I'm pretty sure Cheyenne just threw her wedding ring into the dumpster by accident," Reba replied, pointing to her daughter who was currently waist-deep in construction debris. "I found it," Cheyenne shrieked, emerging with a coffee-stained hand clutching a diamond and a vintage soda bottle. "Maybe we can sell this on eBay." "Every little bit helps," Reba muttered. As they worked, a strange peace settled over the house. For the first time in years, the family was pulled together by a common goal. They weren't just fixing a house. They were building a bridge over the wreckage of the last decade. Brock stopped by more often, offering dental advice that was actually just an excuse to bring more tacos. Even Barbara Jean seemed less manic. Her ruffles traded for a pair of denim overalls that she wore with a surprising amount of grace. "You know," Barbara Jean said, sitting on the floor of what would be the new kitchen, "I used to think that being happy was about having everything perfect. But this place, it's a mess, and I've never felt more alive." Reba looked at her. "That's the adrenaline, Barbara Jean. All the fumes from the floor stripper. Either way, enjoy it while it lasts." But as Reba turned back to the window she was sanding, she found herself smiling. Maybe Van was right. Maybe the froth on the market wasn't a bubble about to burst, but a wave they could finally learn to ride. Chapter 10. The Neighbor from Hell. Just as things were looking up, the universe reminded Reba that her luck was rarely a straight line. A black sedan pulled up to the curb, and a woman who looked like she had been carved out of a very expensive piece of granite stepped out. She marched up the driveway, her heels clicking like gunshots. "I am Mrs. Gable," the woman announced, not bothering with a greeting. "And I am the president of the Homeowners Association for this block, which, I might add, does not allow unauthorized structural modifications or visual disturbances like that thing in the window." She pointed to the turquoise wall, which was visible through the uncurtained glass. "It's a feature wall," Barbara Jean piped up, appearing behind Reba. It's a violation," Mrs. Gable snapped, "and I have it on good authority from a very reputable real estate agent, a Mr. David Stad. You are operating without a commercial flipping license." Reba's blood ran cold. David's told you that. "He was very concerned about the integrity of the neighborhood," Mrs. Gable said, handing Reba a thick envelope. You have 48 hours to provide proof of all permits and licenses, or the city will red tag this property. And believe me, I will be watching." She turned and marched back to her car, leaving Reba standing in the dust of her own ambition. "He's trying to freeze us out," Reba whispered. "He knows we can't afford a delay. If the city shuts us down, the bank pulls the loan. We lose the house, the money, and Van's credit." Van walked out, his linebacker shoulders sagging. "What do we do, Mrs. H?" Reba looked at the turquoise wall, then at her family. The fire in her red hair seemed to catch. "We do what hearts always do, Van. We fight. Cheyenne, get me the phone. Barbara Jean, get me a gallon of greige paint. We're going to give Mrs. Gable a neighborhood she'll never forget." Chapter 11. The Midnight Paint Job. The next 48 hours were a blur of caffeine and desperation. Reba spent the day at the city permit office, navigating a labyrinth of red tape that David's had clearly greased with a few well-placed donations. Meanwhile, back at the house, Van and Brock were performing a miracle of plumbing and electrical work. They weren't professionals, but they had stones and a YouTube tutorial for everything. "If this wire touches this pipe, does the house explode?" Brock asked, holding a pair of pliers. "Only if you're thinking negative thoughts, Doc," Van shouted from the other room. "Positive vibes only." When the sun went down, the real work began. They couldn't let Mrs. Gable see the turquoise wall through the window, but they didn't want to lose Barbara Jean's masterpiece just yet. "We're going to build a false wall," Reba commanded. "A thin sheet of drywall, painted the most boring shade of taupe known to man. We place it 6 inches in front of the turquoise wall. To the HOA, it looks neutral. To us, the dream stays alive." They worked through the night, lit by work lamps and fueled by the sheer spite of David's sabotage. By 4 a.m., the house looked like a model home, sterile, safe, and utterly unaffected. As they sat on the porch, watching the sunrise paint the Texas sky in shades of orange and gold that made Barbara Jean's turquoise look subtle by comparison, a sense of grim triumph settled over them. "We did it," Cheyenne whispered, leaning her head on Van's shoulder. "We're not done yet," Reba said, her eyes fixed on the road. "Mrs. Gable will be here at 8, and I'm going to have the coffee ready." Chapter 12. The Storm. 8 o'clock came with the sound of a luxury car engine. Mrs. Gable arrived, flanked by a man in a city inspector's uniform. Reba stood on the porch, wearing her best "I'm a professional and I haven't slept in 3 days" smile. "Good morning, Mrs. Gable. Inspector, would you like a tour?" They walked through the house, the inspector checking permits with a meticulousness that suggested he had been told to find something wrong. But thanks to Reba's marathon at the city office, every T was crossed and every I was dotted. Mrs. Gable stood in the bedroom, staring at the false wall. "It's very neutral." "It's what the market demands," Reba said, her heart hammering against her ribs. "Well," the inspector said, shutting his clipboard, "everything seems to be in order. No violations here." Mrs. Gable looked disappointed, but she couldn't argue with the paperwork. As they left, Reba leaned against the door frame, her legs finally giving out. "We won," Van cheered, lifting Reba into a bear hug. But as the afternoon progressed, the sky turned a bruised purple. A classic Texas thunderstorm was brewing, the kind that turned streets into rivers and tested every shingle on a roof. Van, Reba said, looking up at a dark spot on the ceiling. "Did you finish the flashing on the chimney?" Van's face went pale. "I was going to do that today, before the HOA lady arrived." A loud crack of thunder shook the house, and a single drop of water fell from the ceiling, landing right in the middle of the neutral taupe false wall. "Oh, no," Barbara Jean whispered. "The dream is getting wet." The sky opened up, and the steel house began to reveal its final, most devastating secret. It wasn't just a fixer-upper. It was a sieve. Chapter 13. The Bucket Brigade. The storm was relentless. Rain hammered against the house like a barrage of small stones, and the sound inside was deafening. Water didn't just leak, it poured. Pots, pans, anything that holds liquid. Reba screamed over the roar of the wind. They scrambled like a crew on a sinking ship. Van was in the attic with a flashlight, trying to divert the flow with a top that was too small for the task. Cheyenne was downstairs, sliding cooking pots under a dozen different drips. Barbara Jean, however, was focused on only one thing: the false wall. The taupe drywall was starting to bubble. The moisture from the leak was soaking into the plaster, making it heavy and sagging. "Reba, it's melting," Barbara Jean cried, holding her hands against the wall, as if she could keep it together with sheer will. "The greage is giving up. The turquoise dream is peeking through." "Forget the wall, Barbara Jean. The floor is going to warp," Reba shouted, dumping a bucket of brown water into the sink. Just then, the power flickered and died. The house was plunged into a strobe-lit nightmare, illuminated only by the occasional flash of lightning. In the darkness, the sound of the house groaning under the weight of the water was terrifying. "Mrs. H." The flashing gave way. Van's voice echoed from the attic. "There's a waterfall coming down the chimney." Brock arrived 10 minutes later, soaked to the bone and carrying a crate of industrial-grade plastic sheeting. "I saw the clouds from the office. I figured you guys weren't ready for this." For the next 4 hours, they fought the house. They were a mess of mud, wet drywall, and frayed nerves. But as the storm finally began to lose its teeth, something strange happened. They stopped arguing. There was no room for ego when you were literal centimeters away from a total loss. By midnight, the rain had slowed to a drizzle. They were all slumped in the living room, sitting on the few dry spots of the sun. "We lost the false wall," Barbara Jean whispered, pointing to the bedroom. The taupe drywall had collapsed, revealing the bright, vibrant turquoise beneath. In the moonlight, it looked almost ethereal, a defiant splash of color in a gray, broken room. Reba looked at it for a long time. Then she looked at her family, wet, exhausted, and covered in grit. "You know what? Let it stay. If a buyer doesn't like the turquoise dream, they don't deserve this house." Chapter 14. The Real Cost of Stones. The morning after the storm brought a devastating realization. The roof needed to be replaced. Entirely. $30,000, the contractor said, scratching his head. And that's the friends and family price, because I feel sorry for you. Reba sat on the porch, her head in her hands. They didn't have $30,000. They were already at their limit. If they didn't finish the flip in 2 weeks, the interest on the loan would skyrocket, and the bank would foreclose. David's won, Reba said, her voice hollow. He knew this roof was a disaster. He waited for the storm to do his dirty work. Van walked out, unusually quiet. He sat next to her, looking at the street where the black Porsche was parked once again. David was waiting like a vulture. Mrs. H. Van said, I have something. It's not much, but it might get us over the finish line. He held out a small, velvet-lined box. Inside was a gold championship ring from his college football days. Van, no, Reba gasped. That's your most prized possession. You told me you wanted to be buried in that ring. I did, Van said, his voice steady. But I realized something last night during the storm. I don't need a ring to prove I have stones. Standing in that attic with you, fighting to save this dump. That was the real game. And I'm playing for the hard team now. Reba felt a lump in her throat she couldn't swallow. She took his hand, the one that had held the crowbar so clumsily, and squeezed it. We're going to win this, Van. Not for the money, for the team. Chapter 15. 2 weeks later, the house was a miracle. The new roof gleamed in the sun. The interior was a perfect blend of Reba's neutral sophistication and Barbara Jean's friendly. And yes, the turquoise dream remained a vibrant secret in the back bedroom. The open house sign was in the yard. Reba stood at the door, her red hair perfectly coiffed, her heart racing. David's was the first one through the door. He looked around, trying to find a flaw. He checked the corners for mold. He tapped the walls for hollow spot. Impressive, Reba, he said, his voice dripping with false sincerity. Even if you sell it today, you'll barely break even after that roof repair. Was it worth the gray hair? It's not about the money anymore, David, Reba said, smiling as the young couple walked in. It's about the fact that I did it, and I didn't have to be a shark to get here. The couple wandered into the back bedroom. Reba held her breath. Oh, look, the woman cried. It's so bold. It's exactly what I wanted for my studio. David's jaw tightened. He turned to leave, but his path was blocked by Brock and Vaughn, who were standing in the hallway looking like two very large, very protective bodyguards. Leaving so soon, Davy, 2 names, Van asked, spinning a set of car keys. You haven't tried the meatballs. Barbara Jean made them. They're organic. Chapter 16. The Flip. The house sold that afternoon. Full price. Cash offer. As they gathered in the kitchen of the hothouse that evening, the air was thick with triumph and the smell of cheap champagne. Reba held the check in her hands. The profit was small, only about $8,000 after all the repairs and debts were paid, but it felt like a fortune. To the first flip, Reba toasted, raising her glass. To the stones, Van cheered. And to the satellite, Barbara Jean added, winking at Brock. Brock smiled and pulled her close. No more satellites, BJ. From now on, if you want to talk, I'm right here. And I've already downloaded a GPS app that never gets lost. The phone rang. Reba picked it up. Hello? Mrs. Hart, this is Hal from I'm calling to follow up on a service request from Mr. Brock Hart. Reba looked at Brock, then at the phone. A slow, mischievous smile spread across her face. Oh, Hal, you have no idea. Why don't you tell me all about it? Chapter 17. The Empire Strikes Back. Success in real estate is a lot like a high-speed chase. As soon as you stop to catch your breath, you realize you're being followed by a hungry predator. 3 months after the sale of the bungalow, Reba and Van had officially formed Hart and Montgomery Enterprises. They had a small office space, a shared computer, and a bank account that no longer looked like a tragic poem. We need a bigger challenge, Mrs. H. Van said, leaning over a map of Houston. The bungalow was just the preseason. I'm ready for the playoffs. The playoffs currently look like a 3-story Victorian on the edge of the historic district, Reba replied, pointing to a grainy photo of a house that looked like it belonged in a gothic horror novel. It's been on the market for 3 years. It's a local legend for being haunted, but I checked the records. It's just haunted by bad plumbing and a massive tax lien. Blackwood Manor, Van whispered, the name sounding like a challenge. It's got a turret. I've always wanted a turret. I could see the whole neighborhood. I could see David's coming from miles away. Reba laughed, but her eyes were serious. It's a huge risk, Van. The renovation cost will be triple what the bungalow was. If we fail, it's not just your credit on the line, it's the whole business. Mrs. H, we have the dream. We have the stones. And most importantly, he gestured to the door where Barbara Jean was currently painting a sign in glitter. We have the designer. Chapter 18. The Victorian Shadow. Blackwood Manor was even more imposing in person. It loomed over the street like a disgruntled elder, its gingerbread trim sagging and its windows covered in a century of dust. "Oh my lord," Barbara Jean breathed, stepping onto the porch. "It's beautiful. It's like a wedding cake that someone left out in the rain for 50 years. I can see it already." "Try structural nightmare expensive mistake," Cheyenne said, following them with her toddler. "Mom, there's literally a tree growing through the kitchen window." "That's not a tree, Cheyenne. That's natural indoor landscaping," Van shouted, already heading for the turret. As they explored the house, the silence was heavy. The air felt thick, with the history of the families who had lived and failed here. Reba found herself in the grand library, where the floorboards creaked in a way that sounded almost like a warning. Suddenly, the front door swung open. It wasn't the wind. David stood there, silhouetted against the bright afternoon sun. He wasn't smiling this time. He looked furious. "I see you bought the Blackwood place," he said, his voice flat. "I warned you about the neighborhood shifting, Reba. This is professional suicide." "You seem very invested in our suicide, David," Reba said, crossing her arms. "Why is that? Are you afraid we might actually make this place look good?" "I'm afraid you're going to devalue the entire district with your turquoise dreams and amateur hour renovations," David snapped. "I've just purchased the empty lot next door. I'm building a high-rise modern complex. Glass, steel, minimalist. It will tower over this old wreck and turn it into a shadow." "A high-rise," Reba gasped. "This is a historic district. David, you can't just build a skyscraper here." "Watch me," David said, his eyes cold. "I have the city council in my pocket. By the time you finish your first coat of paint, the demolition crews will be breaking ground next door. Have fun in the dark, Reba." Chapter 19. Secrets in the Floorboards. The war for Blackwood Manor began that evening. "He's trying to block our light," Barbara Jean cried, clutching her mood board. "If he builds a high-rise, no one will ever see the turret. The turret is the soul of the house." "We have to stop him," Reba said, her mind racing. "If he has the council, we can't fight him through the usual channels." Van was silent, his brow furrowed in thought. He was sitting on the floor of the library, absent-mindedly tapping a loose floorboard. "Wait a minute. Mrs. H, look at it." He pulled up the board, revealing a small, rusted metal box hidden in the joists. "What is it, treasure?" Cheyenne asked, leaning in. Reba opened the box. Inside weren't gold coins or jewels. There were letters, old, yellowed letters dated back to the 1920s. "These are from the original builder, Elias Blackwood," Reba whispered, reading the delicate script. "He's writing to his sister. He's talking about a deed, a restriction." She scanned the pages, her eyes widening. "Van, listen to this. I have ensured that no structure taller than the manor shall ever be built on the surrounding lands. For the view of the bay must remain clear for the ghosts of our ancestors. It's a perpetual easement." He recorded it with the state, not the city. "Does that mean David can't build his high?" Van asked, his face intelligence up. "It means that, as the owners of the manor, we hold the rights to the sky," Reba said, a triumphant grin spreading across her face. David's didn't do his homework. He bought a lot he can't use for anything taller than a doghouse. Chapter 20. The Vulture's Revenge. The next morning, Reba didn't go to the city council. She went directly to David's office. She placed a copy of the 1922 easement on his mahogany desk. "Good morning, David. I thought you might want some light reading for your breakfast." David read the document, his face turning a shade of purple that even Barbara Jean would find offensive. This can't be valid. It's 100 years old." "In Texas, easements are like redheads," David Reba said, leaning over his desk. "They're stubborn, they're loud, and they never go away. You can build your minimalist glass box, but it has to be exactly 1 story tall. Otherwise, I'll see you in court for the next decade." David slumped into his chair, the smugness finally draining out of him. You've ruined me. I spent millions on that lot. No, David, Reba said, her voice softening just a fraction. You ruined yourself. You forgot that real estate is about more than cold, hard numbers. It's about the stories we tell and the history we protect. As she walked out of his office, the Texas sun felt warmer than ever. She drove back to Blackwood Manor, where Van was currently hanging a Hart and Montgomery sign from the turret. Everything okay, Mrs. H? Van shouted from above. Better than okay, Van, Reba shouted back. The sky is clear. Let's get to work. Chapter 21. The Turret's Secret. Restoring Blackwood Manor wasn't like flipping a bunk. It was an archaeological dig. Every time Van swung a hammer, he found something. Hidden servant bells, antique wallpaper patterns, and enough dust to build a second house. Mrs. H, come look at this, Van called from the very top of the turret. Reba climbed the narrow, winding stairs, her heart racing. When she reached the small circular room at the top, she found Van staring at a small alcove hidden behind a piece of window. Inside was a leather-bound diary and a dried rose, preserved by the dry Texas air. It belonged to Clara Blackwood, Reba whispered, opening the brittle pages. She was the sister Elias wrote to. She never left this house. She spent her days up here, painting the sunrise. As Reba read the diary, a new layer of the house revealed itself. This wasn't just a building. It was a sanctuary. Clara had written about her love for a man she could never be with, a rival architect who had built the very houses Elias hated. Wow, Van said, his voice hushed. So the house is haunted by a forbidden romance. That's way better than toxic mold. It's more than that, Van Reba said, her eyes gleaming. It gives the house a heart. People don't just want a renovated mansion. They want to live in a story. Barbara Jean, we're changing the design. Chapter 20. Barbara Jean took the news of the diary with the same level of intensity as a professional athlete preparing for the Olympics. Forbidden love. Secret letters. A turret of longing. Barbara Jean cried, her ruffles vibrating with excitement. We're going to call it the Clara Collection. Soft velvets, hidden nooks, and we're going to restore her painting studio exactly as it was. While Barbara Jean focused on the aesthetic, Reba found herself focused on a different kind of restoration. She started visiting the local archives to find more about Clara's mystery man. It was there that she met Marcus Thorne, the city's lead historian. Marcus was everything David's was not. Quiet, academic, and deeply passionate about the past. He had silver-streaked hair and a way of looking at Reba that made her forget she was covered in paint and drywall dust. You're the one saving the Blackwood place, Marcus said, his voice like warm mahogany. Most people would have just torn it down and built a parking lot. I like a challenge, Marcos, Reba said, feeling a blush crawl up her neck, and I think the house has something to say. Over the next few weeks, Marcus became a regular fixture at the manor. He helped Reba verify the easements and provided historical blueprints that saved them thousands in structural repairs. But more importantly, he started bringing Reba coffee in the morning's coffee. Chapter 23. The Vulture's Last Stand. David's wasn't finished, though the easement had blocked his high-rise. He had one last card to play. He knew that Hart and Montgomery were if he couldn't block the view, he would block the cash flow. One afternoon, a man in a dark suit arrived at the manor. He wasn't a neighbor or an inspector. He was a representative from the bank. Mrs. Hart, I'm afraid there's an issue with your construction draw, the man said. The bank has received an anonymous tip backed by documentation that the historic preservation status of this house makes it a high-risk liability. We're freezing your credit line effective immediately. Reba felt the floor drop out from under her. Anonymous tip. Let me guess. A man with 2 names and a Porsche. The source is irrelevant, the man said, unless you can provide a secondary guarantee or pay off the primary lien of $500,000. We will be forced to move toward foreclosure. Van walked in, his face pale. 500 grand. We don't have 50 grand, let alone 500. Reba looked at the half-finished grand staircase, then at the turret where Clara's diary still sat. They were so close. I'm not giving up, Van Reba said, her voice hot. I've got one more move. Chapter 24. The Gala of the Century. Reba didn't call a lawyer. She called Marcus Thorne. We're going to hold a gala, Reba announced. A Save the Blackwood fundraising event. We're going to invite every historical society, every wealthy philanthropist, and every bored socialite in Houston. We're going to sell them the story of Clara and Elias. For 48 hours, the house was a hive of activity. Cheyenne and Van worked on the lighting, while Barbara Jean turned the overgrown gardens into a Victorian wonderland. Brock even stepped in, using his dental contacts to secure a high-end caterer. The night of the gala, Blackwood Manor shone like a beacon. The turquoise feature wall, now a subtle, elegant accent in the library, served as the backdrop for the Clara Collection exhibit. David Davids arrived uninvited, looking for blood. You think a few glasses of champagne will save this wreck, Reba? The bank moves in at midnight. Wait for it, David, Reba said, her eyes fixed on the door. At 10 p.m., a limousine pulled up. Out stepped a woman who looked like she owned half of Texas, because she did. It was Mrs. Sterling, the matriarch of the Houston Arts Council. I've heard the story of Clara, Mrs. Sterling said, walking through the foyer. It's been a long time since this city valued its soul more than its square footage. Reba Hart, I understand you have a lien issue. We do, Mrs. Sterling, Reba said. Consider it gone, the woman said, waving a hand. The Arts Council will purchase the manor as a protected landmark. You will stay on as the permanent curators and project leads. And as for the lot next door, she looked at David Davids with a gaze that could wither a cactus. I think it would make a lovely public park. Don't you, David? Chapter 25. The Call from California. Just as the dust settled on the Blackwood Manor project, a new kind of storm was brewing, one made of cameras, lighting rigs, and a very persistent producer named Jocks. Jocks was from a major cable network in Los Angeles, and he had seen the viral footage of the Blackwood Gala. He didn't just want the house, he wanted the heart. It's the perfect narrative arc, Reba, Jocks shouted into the speakerphone. The fiery redhead, the former linebacker, the quirky designer with a turquoise obsession. We call it the Texas flip. It's raw, it's real, it's profitable. Reba looked at Van, who was currently wearing a hard hat with a GoPro attached to it. I don't know, Jocks. We're builders, not actors. I don't want to spend my day faking drama for the ratings. Who said anything about faking? Jocks laughed. Your family provides enough drama naturally to power a small city. We start shooting the pilot in 2 weeks. Don't let me down. Chapter 26. Pilot Season. The arrival of the film crew turned Blackwood Manor into a chaotic circus. Suddenly, every nail hammered and every wall painted had to be done twice, once for the house and once for the camera. Can you say that again, Van? But with more longing, the director asked. Longing for what? The drill, Van asked, confused. Longing for the legacy, the director sighed. While Van struggled with his lines, Barbara Jean, she had started wearing even more ruffles, specifically designed to catch the light. She had even convinced the crew that turquoise was a spiritual color. But beneath the glamour, tension was rising. The network wanted more conflict. They wanted Reba to fight with the contractor. They wanted Cheyenne to have a breakdown over a tile choice. I'm not doing it, Jocks, Reba said, pulling him aside. This is a real business. If we look like amateurs on national TV, David Davids will be laughing all the way to the bank. David Davids. Jax's eyes lit up. Wait, is he the rival agent? The one who tried to block the view? Get him on the show. He's the perfect villain. Chapter 27. The Shadow of the Past. As the pilot episode neared completion, a face from the past appeared that wasn't in the script. Jake Hart, Reba's ex-husband, had seen the promos for the show. He arrived at the manor unannounced, looking for a reunion that clearly involved a cut of the new business. I saw you on the news, Reba, Jake said, leaning against the restored banister. Looks like life has been good to you. I figured, since we were partners for 20 years, maybe I should be a partner in this enterprise too. Reba felt a coldness in her chest that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. You weren't a partner, Jake. You were a passenger. And the ride ended 5 years ago. The cameras would love a redemption story, wouldn't they? Jake whispered, nodding toward the film crew. Imagine the ratings if the long-lost husband returns to help his family. Van stepped in, his linebacker shadow falling over Jake. The only story we're telling here is how we built this without you. Now, you can leave the way you came, or I can show you the stones Reba's been talking about. Jake left, but the damage was done. The network loved the footage. They wanted to make Jake a recurring character. Over my dead body, Reba said. She realized then that the biggest risk wasn't the market or the money. It was losing the integrity of her own life for a few minutes of fame. Chapter 28. The Ultimate Flip. Reba made a choice. She sat down with jocks and the network executives and gave them an ultimatum. We'll do the show, Reba said. But we're changing the format. We're not just flipping mansions for millionaires. Every third project we do will be a community flip. We find a family in need, a veteran, a single parent, a teacher, and we restore their home for free, using the profits from the show. The executors hesitated. But where's the conflict? Where's the drama? The drama is in the survival, Reba said. The drama is in seeing a roof that doesn't leak for the first time in 10 years. That's the Heart brand. Take it or leave it. They took it. The first community flip was a tiny house on the south side of town, belonging to a nurse who had lost everything in the storm. The episode broke every ratings record the network had. People didn't want sharks. They wanted heroes. Chapter 29. The Corporate Shark. Success, as Reba Hart was quickly learning, was the ultimate shark bait. By the end of the second season of the Texas Flip, Hart and Montgomery Enterprises wasn't just a local success, it was a national brand. But with that brand came interest from people who didn't care about community flips or historicies. They cared about the bottom line. A letter arrived at the office, embossed with the gold leaf of Apex Global Realty. They wanted to buy the brand. They wanted to turn the turquoise dream into a line of low-quality home goods sold in every big-box store in America. They're offering us $10 million, Mrs. H. Van said, his voice trembling as he read the figure. 10 million. And in exchange, we lose control of everything, Reba said, pacing the small office. Barbara Jean wouldn't be able to pick a paint color without a committee approval. Our community flips would be turned into tax write-offs managed by accountants in Delaware. No, Van, we say no. But Mom, Cheyenne said, looking at the number, think of what we could do with that money. We could fund 100 community projects. Not if they own our names. Cheyenne, Reba countered. Once you sell your soul to a shark, you don't get to decide what's for dinner. Chapter 30. The Neighborhood That Time Forgot. To clear her head, Reba took the team to a new project, a community flip, in a neighborhood called The Hollows. It was an area forgotten by the city, where the streets were cracked, and the houses were held together by hope and peeling paint. The project was a small, two-bedroom cottage belonging to Mrs. Higgins, a retired schoolteacher who had taught half the neighborhood how to read. Her roof had been failing for a decade, and her foundation was sinking into the soft Texas soil. This is our real work, Reba said, looking at the house. This isn't for the cameras. This is for Mrs. Higgins. But as they started the demolition, they found a problem that no amount of stones could fix. The entire neighborhood was sitting on an old, undocumented toxic waste site from a factory that had closed in the 50s. The ground is contaminated, Mrs. H. Van said, looking at the soil samples. If the city finds out, they'll condemn the whole block. Mrs. Higgins and 40 other families will be homeless. Suddenly, the $10 million offer from Apex started to look like more than just a buyout. Reba realized that Apex knew about the contamination. They wanted to buy the Hard brand so they could buy the land under the guise of redevelopment, kick everyone out, and pocket the government cleanup subsidies. Chapter 31. The tension reached a breaking point when Reba discovered that the show's producer had been in talks with Apex behind her back. It's a win-win, Reba, jocks shouted during a heated meeting in the Manor's library. Apex cleans up the site. You get the credit for saving the neighborhood on TV, and everyone gets paid. Who cares if the families have to relocate? They'll get a nice settlement check. They don't want a check, shocks. They want their homes, Reba screamed. You've been playing both sides this whole time. I'm a producer, Reba. I produce hits. And this is the ultimate season finale. Reba turned to Van and Barbara Jean. We're shutting down the show. Right now. You can't do that. You're under contract, jocks laughed. Watch me, Reba said. She reached into a briefcase and pulled out the original 1922 easement for Blackwood Manor. I didn't just record the easement for the manor. Jocks. I found a clause in the neighborhood charter for the Hollows. This entire district was gifted to the city with a right of return clause. If the land is ever found to be unfit for habitation, the city is legally required to provide on-site remediation without displacing the residents. Apex can't touch it. Chapter 32. The final closing. The war for the Hollows lasted 6 months. Reba and Marcus Thorne worked day and night, using the historical documents to force the city's hand. The cameras were gone, the network had sued, but the Hart family stood their ground. In the end, the city was forced to fund the cleanup, while the families stayed in temporary housing, provided by the Hart and Montgomery Foundation. Apex Global Realty pulled their offer, their stock price tumbling after the scandal went public. On a warm Texas evening, Mrs. Higgins finally moved back into her cottage. The roof was new, the foundation was level, and the living room had a single, elegant feature wall in a shade Barbara Jean called Higgins' Hope, a soft, glowing turquoise that looked like a summer sky. Reba sat on the porch of Blackwood Manor, her hand in Marcus's. The house was finally quiet. "You lost $10 million, Reba," Marcus said softly. "No," Reba said, looking at her daughter, her son-in-law, and her granddaughter playing in the park across the street. "I kept the only thing that actually has value. I kept the stones." Van walked out, holding 2 glasses of champagne. To the Hart team, "Mrs. H, we might be the only flippers in history who ended up richer by giving it all away." To the team, Reba toasted. The phone rang in the hallway. Reba didn't move. "Let it ring," she said, leaning back into the mahogany warmth of the porch. "Whoever it is, they can wait for the next chapter." Epilogue. The road ahead. The Houston sky was a deep, velvet blue, as Reba sat on the steps of the restored Blackwood Manor. The lights from the turret twinkled above, a tribute to a woman who had once watched the world from there. The business was booming. Van had become the king of the turrets, and now, a household name. Barbara Jean's turquoise dream had become a national trend. Cheyenne was the head of the Hart and Montgomery Foundation, overseeing the community projects. Brock was currently inside, showing the pilot episode to a group of friends, while Barbara Jean critiqued her own lighting. Marcus walked out onto the porch, handing Reba a glass of wine. "You did it, Reba. You didn't just save the story. You changed the way people see home." "No," Reba said, leaning her head on his shoulder. "We just gave everyone a place to belong." She looked out across the street, where the park was full of children playing. There was no sign of the past, only the bright, clear future. Reba Hart had finally found her own quick exit strategy. She didn't need to leave. She had finally arrived. Note to user: the requested advanced model features are unavailable in Canvas. This response utilized the fallback model. The Heart of a Survivor. A novel based on the life of Reba Hart. Chapter 1. The Barbecue of Despair. The Houston sun was an oppressive weight, a humid blanket that smelled of charcoal, lighter fluid, and the faint, sweet scent of blooming jasmine. Reba Hart stood on her back porch, her hand shielded against the glare as she watched her ex-husband flip a burger with the kind of practiced enthusiasm usually reserved for heart surgery. This was the 15th barbecue of the season, or maybe it just felt like it. In the world of the Harts, the lines between family time and organized chaos had long since blurred into a smear of suburban domesticity that Reba sometimes found harder to navigate than her divorce. "I found you a man, Reba," Barbara Jean's voice chirped from the picnic table, cutting through the sizzle of meat. Barbara Jean, the woman who had replaced Reba as Brock's wife, was currently wearing a sun hat the size of a satellite dish and a smile that was dangerously sincere. Reba didn't turn around. She didn't need to. She could picture the exact shade of lipstick Barbara Jean was wearing. "Barbara Jean, if this is another one of your fixer-uppers, I'm going to need you to reconsider our friendship. And by reconsider, I mean end it." "Oh, he's lovely," Barbara Jean insisted, fluttering a printout from a dating website. "He's a widower. He loves cats. And he's a professional spoon player." "He's 80. Barbara Jean," Reba said, finally turning around. "He was barbecuing for the 15th time when I saw him last. I'm not dating your grandpa." "You missed the boat anyway," Barbara Jean sighed, her face falling into a tragic mask. "He ran off with his day nurse. Well, not so much ran as shuffled. But the point is, Reba, you're stagnating. Your romantic life is a desert, and I am the irrigation system." Reba rolled her eyes, her gaze drifting to her daughter, Cheyenne, who was currently trying to convince her husband, Van, that a latte was a sensible investment. "Dating is when two people who like each other go out in public," Cheyenne explained to Van, as if she were teaching a golden retriever how to do long division. And they're called a latte because they cost a lot. Van, keep up. Van nodded solemnly, his brow furrowed in deep concentration. Right. Latte costa, got it. Hey, Mrs. H, when you asked me to watch Elizabeth while I went to the store to get her some orange juice, I didn't think you meant in Florida. Reba blinked. Van, the store is 3 blocks away. How did Florida enter the conversation? Sorry I took so long, Van said, ignoring the question of geography as he finally walked up. The porch steps, empty. But I couldn't remember which kind Elizabeth likes, pulp or no pulp, so I had to call Cheyenne, who needed a ride home from the library. Yeah, so he picked me up, Cheyenne added. And since both of us were hungry, we decided to go to lunch. It was a bonding experience. Mom? Reba looked at the two of them. They were young, beautiful, and completely incapable of functioning without her as the central axis of their world. So, where's the juice? Van's eyes went wide. Can you watch Elizabeth while I run to the store to get the juice? Reba felt a dull throb start behind her left eye. It was the kind of headache that didn't just hurt. It whispered suggestions about running away to a cabin in the woods where no one knew the word mom. Oh, Van added, sensing her aura darkening. You might want to get some aspirin for yourself. You look a little twitchy. Chapter 2. The Digital Soulmate. Why do I need aspirin? Reba muttered to the empty kitchen 10 minutes later. She was elbow deep in dishwater, the sound of the television in the other room providing a frantic soundtrack to her life. Guys, will you please tell Miss 19th Century here that online dating is a great way to meet compatible men? Barbara Jean's voice drifted in from the living room, where she had cornered Cheyenne and Van. Reba dried her hands on a dish towel and walked into the lion's den. If the computer picks a man for me based on my interests, the only result is going to be a man who wants to be left alone in a quiet room with a glass of wine and a do not disturb sign on the door. At least, take a look, Cheyenne pleaded, holding her laptop like a sacred relic. I mean, one of these guys could be your soulmate. Look at Steve. He's a mortician. He's stable. People are literally dying to see him. Or Greg, Van suggested, pointing at the screen. He's a prison guard. He knows how to handle tough crowds. That's a plus in this house. Or Jorge, Barbara Jean added, her eyes sparkling. He works at the zoo. Oh, that guy's a keeper. A zookeeper. Get it? Okay, yeah, Reba snapped, her patience finally fraying like an old rope. You know, maybe you should date him, Mom. It might put you in a better mood. Reba froze. It was Jake, her youngest, leaning against the doorframe with a smirk that was far too sophisticated for a boy his age. I've been a little cranky lately, Mrs. H. Van whispered, backing away slowly. Don't hit me. Reba sighed, the fight draining out of her. Did any of you ever stop to think that I wouldn't be so cranky if I didn't have 5 loads of laundry, a babysitting job, and a mountain of dishes to wash? I am a single mom who works too hard, who loves her kids and never stops. But even a survivor needs a minute to breathe. There was a rare moment of silence. Even Barbara Jean looked sheepish. Okay, look, Cheyenne said softly. I can do the dishes. Van can do everything else. I can? Van asked. Yes, you can, Cheyenne hissed. It's a little housework compared to Mum finding her soulmate. Reba looked at them, her family, her beautiful, chaotic, exhausting family. She looked at the laptop screen, where a man named Ted was smiling, a generic, digital smile. I do need something, Reba admitted, her voice dropping to a whisper. See, Barbara Jean cheered, and I know what it is. Starts with an L, ends in an E, has an O and a V, rhymes with dove. Laundry, Van guessed. Love, Barbara Jean screamed. Reba ignored them, her mind already spinning. She didn't want love. She wanted the one thing that was rarer than a perfect match in the city of Houston. She wanted silence. Fine, Reba said, a plan forming in the back of her mind. I'll go on the date, but if he's a crazy person, I'm billing you for the therapy. Chapter 3. The Art of the Disappearing Act. The date was set for Tuesday night. To the rest of the world, or at least the world within the 4 walls of the heart, Residence Reba was preparing for a romantic encounter with a mystery man from the internet. She spent an hour in the bathroom, the shower running, the scent of expensive perfume wafting under the door. In reality, Reba was sitting on the edge of the bath, reading a paperback thriller and eating a sleeve of crackers she'd hidden in the vanity. Mom, you ready? Cheyenne knocked on the door, Mr. Wonderful is waiting. Reba stood up, smoothed her skirt, and checked her reflection. She looked good. She looked like a woman who was going to meet the love of her life. She felt like a woman who was about to pull off the greatest heist in history, stealing 4 hours of her own life back. I'm coming! I'm coming! Reba called out. She walked out into the living room, where the entire family had gathered like they were watching a space shuttle launch. Even Brock was there, leaning against the mantel with a look of feigned indifference that fooled absolutely no one. You look nice, Reba Brock said, his voice a mix of genuine compliment and lingering possessiveness. A little much for coffee, isn't it? It's not just coffee, Brock. It's a latte, Reba said, winking at Van. Wish me luck. As the door clicked shut behind her, Reba didn't head for the trendy coffee shop Barbara Jean had suggested. She headed for the public library. She spent 3 glorious hours in the back corner of the history section. No one asked her where their socks were. No one asked her to settle a dispute about the remote control. No one called her Mom or Mrs. H. It was better than any date she'd ever been on. When she returned home, she made sure to look slightly flushed. How was it? Barbara Jean pounced before Reba could even get her coat off. Oh, wonderful, Reba lied, her heart giving a small, guilty twinge that she quickly suppressed. We talked for hours. He's a poet. Very deep. A poet, Barbara Jean gasped. Oh, Reba, I knew it! I'm a Cupid. I'm a genius. For the next week, the ruse continued. Reba went on dates 3 times. One night she went to a late-night movie by herself and sat in the back row with a large popcorn, reveling in the fact that she didn't have to share a single kernel. Another night, she simply drove to a park and watched the stars. The house had never been cleaner. Cheyenne and Van, desperate to keep the romance alive, had taken over the chores. The laundry was folded, the dishes were put away, and Jake was even doing his homework without being threatened with the loss of internet. Reba was a survivor, and right now, she was surviving better than she ever had. Chapter 4. The Detectives. I don't buy it, Van said, leaning over a pile of unfolded laundry in the middle of the living room. Cheyenne looked up from her magazine. By what, Van? The laundry is done. Life is good. No. Van shook his head. His eyes narrowed. Mrs. H, she's too happy, and she won't tell us his name. She won't show us a picture. She won't let him come to the house. Maybe she's just being private, Cheyenne suggested. Or maybe, a voice interrupted from the hallway. It was Jake. He was holding a crumpled piece of paper. Maybe there is no guy. Jake, don't be cynical, Barbara Jean said, walking in with a tray of snacks. Reba is in love. She told me she had coffee with his photo this morning. I checked her phone, Jake said flatly. No new contacts, no outgoing calls to anyone named Mr. Poet. And I found this in the trash. He held up a receipt from a local bookstore. The date and time matched Reba's second date. She's catting around, Van whispered, horrified, but with herself. We have to know the truth, Barbara Jean said, her eyes narrowing. For her own good, if she's lying. She's shutting down emotionally. I've seen this before. I have a DVD of The Way We Were. We need to watch it 3 times to understand the complexity of the female psyche. No, Cheyenne said, standing up. We don't need Barbra Streisand. We need a stakeout. I have a plan, Van said, his voice dropping an octave. We call her Cell. We record the background noise. We have it analyzed by a restaurant sound expert. Bam! We got him. Or, Cheyenne said, grabbing her keys, we just follow her tonight. Chapter 5. Petit Jean. Reba sat at a small, candlelit table at Petit Jean, a French bistro that was far enough away from her neighborhood to feel like another planet. She had a glass of red wine, a thick novel, and a plate of escargot. She was actually looking forward to trying. This was the pinnacle of her dating career, the ultimate meet. Can I buy you some dinner to go with that wine? Reba looked up. A man was standing by her table. He was roughly her age, with kind eyes, and a smile that looked like it had seen its fair share of life's ironies. Oh, no thanks, Reba said quickly, her defensive instincts kicking in. I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were with someone. Oh, I'm not. Well, I am, sort of, but not really. But, thanks. But no. The man chuckled. Something tells me you're going to have a hard time deciding on an entree if you're that conflicted about a conversation. I'm just enjoying my own company, Reba explained, gesturing to her book. A rare and noble pursuit, the man said, nodding. I'll leave you to it. He turned to walk away, but at that exact moment, the front door of the restaurant burst open. Oh! Reba's heart plummeted into her stomach. Standing in the doorway, looking like a low-budget version of the FBI, were Van Cheyenne and Barbara Jean. Brock was trailing behind them, looking deeply uncomfortable. What are y'all doing here? Reba hissed, standing up so fast she nearly toppled her wine. You're going to ruin my date? Oh, yeah, Van shouted, pointing at her empty chair. It was such a great date. How come you're reading a book? And where is he? Mrs. H, where's the poet? He's in the bathroom, Reba lied, her eyes darting around the room in a panic. Oh, Reba, Barbara Jean said, her voice dripping with pity. I see through your facade. Your date stood you up. What kind of a guy has a chance to be with you, and then leaves you at the table? Look, guys, my date did not stand me up, okay? Reba pleaded. Well, we're not leaving until we meet him, Brock said, crossing his arms. I want to see the man who's been keeping you out until 11 o'clock on a school night. Reba looked at the man who had just tried to buy her a drink. He was standing a few feet away, watching the spectacle with a mixture of confusion and amusement. She made a split-second decision. It was a terrible decision. It was a decision fueled by pride and a desperate need to not be the lonely woman her family thought she was. She walked over to the stranger and grabbed his arm. Oh, okay, Reba whispered to him, her eyes wide and pleading. I changed my mind. I want dinner. My name is Reba, and if you would pretend to be my boyfriend for 5 minutes, then they'll probably leave me alone, and I'll pay for your meal. Go. Smile. The man blinked, looked at the angry mob near the door, and then looked back at Reba. A slow, mischievous grin spread across his face. Challenge accepted, he whispered back. He turned to the family, his arm draped comfortably around Reba's shoulders. Hi. Sorry, I took so long. You certainly know your way around a bar, he said to Reba, then looked at the others. I'm Ted Irina's boyfriend. Irina, Brock asked, his brow furrowed. He calls me Irina because I remind him of a Russian princess, Reba said, leaning into Ted with a sickly sweet smile. That is so cute, right? I'm Brock, the ex-Brock said, stepping forward and extending a hand like he was preparing for a duel, the shoes to fill. Oh, yeah, Ted said, shaking his hand with surprising strength. I've heard. Thing. Chapter 6. The Canadian Bicycle Salesman. The next hour was a fever dream of escalating lies. So, Ted, Barbara Jean said, leaning across the table they had all eventually squeezed into. Reba hasn't really talked about you, so talk. Well, my name's Ted, the stranger said, leaning back with an ease that Reba both admired and feared. I'm a bicycle salesman from Ottawa. I'm only in the States part-time. Canada, Brock barked. Land of scam artists. I thought you were a writer. Reba said you were a poet. No, Ted corrected smoothly. A bicycle rider. You must have misheard her. I write manuals for bikes. Oh, Reba added, sweating. Yeah, bicycle rider. I'd never date a book writer. They're worse than musicians. You're from Canada? Cheyenne asked, her eyes wide. But that's so far away. How do you and Mom make it work? It's a beautiful place, Ted said, looking Reba dead in the eye. You'll like it, Reba. Really? What do you say? You want to get married? Reba nearly choked on her wine. Well, Ted, this is a little odd. No, she does not. Barbara Jean screamed. I love this woman. You can't just take her to Canada. Hey, Brock said, pointing a finger at Ted. Well, I love her more. And if I can't have her... Okay, you can have her, Ted said, putting his hands up in mock surrender. Wait, what? Brock blinked. Reba put her head in her hands. The facade was crumbling faster than a cheap cookie. She looked up at her family, the people she loved, the people who drove her crazy, the people who couldn't let her have one night of peace without turning it into a federal investigation. Okay, that's it, Reba said, her voice firm. Ted is not my boyfriend. The person I was dating was me. The table went silent. Well, then who's this guy? Van asked, pointing at Ted. My name really is Ted, the man said, standing up. But I'm not a Canadian bicycle salesman. I was just trying to be weird enough to scare you all off. Apparently, I underestimated the competition. So, Reba, Brock said, his voice softening, you never had a date. Yeah, I did, Reba admitted. I had a date set up with that zookeeper Barbara Jean found, but he never showed. But as I was sitting there by myself, I realized something. I realized that I like spending time by myself, but I'm always so busy taking care of y'all that I never get the chance to do that. She looked at Cheyenne. I need some time away from the house, and if that means going out reading a book or learning French or just sitting in a parking lot eating crackers, well, I don't think that's such a big deal, and it's not too much to ask. Cheyenne looked down at her lap. We're sorry, Mom. I guess we didn't realize how much you did around the house till we had to do it ourselves this week. Yeah, Van added. We learned a valuable lesson. It only cost me $80 and an iPod to bribe Jake and his weird friends to help with the yard. Chapter 7. The family eventually left, shuffling out of the restaurant with their tails between their legs. Brock stayed behind for a moment, looking at Reba. Well, Reba, he said, I'm glad you weren't dating a con man, and when you do find someone, I hope he's at least as handsome and well put together as I am. Thanks, Brock. Reba smiled, but I hope he doesn't have your bird legs. Brock laughed, patted his thighs, and walked out. Reba sat back down at her table. She felt lighter. The truth was out, and more importantly, she had reclaimed her right to her own life. So, Ted said, pulling out the chair opposite her, is the offer for dinner still on the table, or do I have to go back to Ottawa and sell more imaginary bicycles? Reba laughed. A real, genuine laugh. You're a good sport, Ted, and you're dangerous. My family's crazy, too, Ted said, but after meeting yours, I think I'll call mine tonight and tell them I love them from a safe distance. Hey, Reba asked as the waiter approached. What do you really do for a living? Ted smiled. I'm a musician. Reba groaned. I knew it. I told them I'd never date a musician. Technically, Ted said, we're not dating. We're just two people who like each other going out in public. Careful, Reba warned. That's how lattes happen. Chapter 8. The Rhythm of the Night. The non-date that followed Petit Jacques wasn't a latte. It was better. It was a Tuesday evening in a dimly lit jazz club in downtown Houston, a place called the Blue Note. Reba felt a strange fluttering in her chest as she smoothed her dress. She hadn't been out with a man who wasn't her ex-husband in. Well, she didn't want to do the math, because it made her feel like a historical artifact. You look like you're bracing for an impact, Ted said, appearing beside her. He was dressed in black, holding a guitar case that looked like it had traveled more miles than a Greyhound bus. I'm just waiting for Barbara Jean to pop out of a tuba, Reba admitted, glancing nervously toward the stage. I checked the instrument cases. We're clear, Ted laughed, ready to see what a musician actually does. For the next 2 hours, Reba didn't think about laundry. She didn't think about Van's latest confusion or Cheyenne's drama. She watched Ted. On stage, he was different. The playful, sarcastic man from the restaurant was replaced by someone soulful, focused, and undeniably talented. His fingers moved over the strings with a grace that made Reba's heart skip a beat. He wasn't a bicycle salesman. He wasn't a poet. He was just Ted, and he was wonderful. After the sets, they sat at a small booth in the back. The air was thick with the scent of old wood and expensive whiskey. So, Ted said, wiping sweat from his brow, worse than a book writer. Marginally, Reba teased, but only because you don't use as many adjectives. They talked until the staff started putting chairs on the tables. Ted told her about the llama ranch he'd once worked at and got fired from because he insisted on singing to the animals. Reba laughed so hard she snorted her soda, a sound she hadn't made since high school. You're a survivor, Reba, Ted said, his voice suddenly serious as he walked her to her car. I can see it in your eyes, but you don't always have to fight. Sometimes, you can just be. He leaned in, and for a moment, Reba thought he was going to kiss her. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Instead, he reached out and gently tucked a stray red hair behind her ear. See you next Tuesday, he asked. Maybe even sooner, Reba heard herself say. Chapter 9. The Brunch from Hell. Reba should have known the peace wouldn't last. In the Hart House, peace was merely the eye of a hurricane. The following Saturday morning, Reba was attempting to make pancakes when the front door flew open. In marched Barbara Jean, carrying a massive bouquet of sunflowers and a look of religious fervor. He's here, she squealed. Who's here? The taxman, Reba asked, flipping a pancake with more force than necessary. No, Tad. I saw a strange car in the driveway and I just knew. Oh, Reba, is he in the shower? Can I smell his soap? Barbara Jean, that's my car. I got it washed. Reba lied, but her lie was immediately undermined by the sound of the doorbell. I'll get it.
अंधेरों की दीवारों में खुद को ढूंढता हूँ, गए जो दिन सुहाने मैं उनको सोचता हूँ। अंधेरों की दीवारों में खुद को ढूंढता हूँ, गए जो दिन सुहाने मैं उनको सोचता हूँ। तुम्हारे बिन ये मौसम बड़ा ही सर्द लगता है, दिल का हर एक कोना बहुत ही दर्द देता है। अंधेरों की दीवारों में खुद को ढूंढता हूँ, गए जो दिन सुहाने उन्हीं को सोचता हूँ। साए भी अब तो जुदा होने से डरते हैं, तुझको खोने की राहों में आहें भरते हैं। ओ कहाँ जाऊँ कहाँ ढूंढूं, नहीं मिलता निशा तेरा, माना भी नहीं देता, ये कैसा है जहाँ तेरा। अंधेरों की दीवारों में खुद को ढूंढता हूँ, ये जो दिन सुहाने उन्हीं को सोचता हूँ। अंधेरों की दीवारों में खुद को ढूंढता हूँ, ये जो दिन सुहाने उन्हीं को सोचता हूँ। तेरी यादें मुझको ऐसे तड़पाती हैं, सारी सारी रात मुझे ऐसे ही जगाती हैं। कहाँ जाऊँ कहाँ ढूंढूं, नहीं मिलता निशा तेरा, ज़माना भी नहीं देता, ये कैसा है जहाँ तेरा। अंधेरों की दीवारों मैं खुद को ढूंढता हूँ, ये वो दिन सुहाने मैं उनको सोचता हूँ। अंधेरों की दीवारों में खुद को ढूंढता हूँ, ये जो दिन सुहाने उन्हीं को सोचता हूँ।